The game transports you to an underground kingdom, where a boy named Jiang Shao resides. Despite not being the most skilled warrior, his determination and ambition speak volumes. Suddenly, the spirit of poverty emerges from the shadows, repeatedly uttering its name. Our warrior seethed with anger at the insult and refused to tolerate such disrespect, casting a disdainful gaze upon the spirit of poverty. Brandishing his formidable iron fire sword, Zhong Shao prepared to confront the spirit of poverty head-on, knowing he would emerge victorious. A mere common enemy ridiculed the seasoned warrior Jiang, underestimating his prowess. By vanquishing this diminutive green creature, our warrior further solidified his reputation for invincibility and strength. Unyielding in his resolve, he recognized that defeating such minor adversaries served to fortify his determination and resilience for future battles. The spirit of poverty dissipated into oblivion, as if it had never existed. Our fighter grew increasingly formidable with each foe vanquished, his health soaring higher and higher. The spirit of poverty, a unique entity encountered on the initial floor, had the potential to yield between 300 to 500 gold coins upon its demise, along with other valuable treasures. Realizing that dispatching such enemies yielded lucrative rewards, our fighter resolved to continue hunting them down for gold and rare crystals. Without warning, a massive firestorm engulfed our protagonist, nearly consuming him entirely. Shao was stunned by the stealthy nature of the attack, unable to comprehend how someone could strike him with such precision. A band of individuals mocked our protagonist, intimidated by his potential and seeking to undermine him psychologically. Delighted at the prospect of leveling up by defeating what they perceived as a weak and inexperienced opponent, these individuals derided him for venturing beyond the novice village with inadequate weaponry. Acquiring the potent snake spell he desired necessitated a considerable investment of gold and precious emeralds. Surveying his surroundings, our protagonist realized he was being hunted and needed to flee. As he spotted his envious pursuers closing in with violent intent, he knew he was outnumbered and had nowhere to retreat. Recognizing their superior strength, he weighed his options, reluctant to squander the wealth and resources he had painstakingly acquired. The belligerent group debated over who would claim his demise, eager to satisfy their egos by eliminating him. Just as despair seemed inevitable, our warrior deployed a smoke grenade, vanishing into the unknown in a desperate bid to evade his assailants. The costly diversion only fueled his adversaries' rage, intensifying their resolve to punish him for his perceived extravagance. Fueled by determination, our protagonist sprinted with unprecedented vigor, resolved to safeguard his hard-earned resources and resist the onslaught of the barbaric mob. Suddenly, a devastating blue beam struck him from behind, piercing his body and severely impairing his mobility. The impact depleted his health by 200 points, leaving him struggling to maintain his speed. It was no ordinary projectile but a specialized arrow infused with immense energy, capable of piercing through any defense with its formidable blue beam. Refusing to surrender, he tapped into the extraordinary strength of a seasoned warrior, defying the odds stacked against him. His adversaries taunted him, hoping to witness his demise quietly, convinced he would amount to nothing. Intent on seizing his hard-earned gold coins and rare crystals, treasures acquired through painstaking effort, his enemies schemed to strip him of his possessions. For days on end, he tirelessly scoured the land, completing quests, battling mobs, all to amass these precious resources, now hanging in the balance as his life teetered on the edge. With his vision fading and hope dwindling, he resigned himself to the encroaching darkness, his thoughts consumed by the finality of his fate. Yet, as he opened his eyes once more, he was greeted by the unexpected sight of two girls, addressing him as their master and offering a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. Awaking from what felt like a prolonged slumber, he discovered that the two girls were his dedicated maids, entrusted with his care during his rest. As he observed, several other girls with exquisite figures tended to his grooming needs, providing him with a pedicure. He found himself pampered to the utmost, receiving a new hairstyle and the assurance that his maids were at his beck and call. Gazing at his transformed reflection in the mirror, He was startled by the drastic changes in his appearance, realizing that everything about him had been altered, save for his consciousness. Overwhelmed with fear, he cast the mirror aside, convinced he was trapped in a surreal dream. Surrounding him were numerous maids, kneeling in reverence, eager to fulfill his every whim as they dutifully served their king. Embracing his newfound status as an extraordinary individual, he embraced his role as a leader, empowered to enact his desires with unwavering obedience from those who served him. One of the maids knelt before him, offering herself willingly. Intrigued, he scrutinized her features, contemplating his personal desires. He commanded her to disrobe and attend to his needs, asserting his dominance over her. However, his attention was suddenly diverted as he caught sight of something unexpected in the room. His gaze fixated on the most enchanting maiden he had ever seen, captivated by her beauty and allure as she stood before him in elegant attire. Realizing that she surpassed the need for mere servitude, he desired her to fulfill his personal desires. Despite his authority as the boss, his innermost desires stirred with anticipation at the prospect of what could transpire between them. All the maids prostrated themselves before him, ready to comply with his every command and fulfill his every wish. In that moment, a diminutive figure clad in blue approached, bearing a crimson scroll. Intrigued by the newcomer's presence, they rose from their kneeling positions, curious about the message he bore. Seated on his throne, Boss Xiao was flanked by his loyal maid, ready to protect him and fulfill his every whim. An eerie tension hung in the air as the dungeon's most powerful leaders convened around the table. While Xiao assumed they were the bosses, his astute maid recognized them as mere assistants, noting the absence of the Lords of Hell. Advocating on his behalf, the maid puzzled over the absence of the true rulers, the Lords of Hell. Urgency permeated the atmosphere, necessitating an immediate meeting to address the escalating situation. Those gathered at the table were baffled. The assembly didn't resemble the usual Lords of Hell. Yet, their behavior deviated from the norm, sparking suspicion among the attendees. Since the game's inception, over 3 million players had ventured into its depths, but few had attained the level achieved by Snuff. By regulating the absorption of energy from player herbs, Snuff ensured that players only experienced fatigue, safeguarding their lives within the game. As players delved deeper into the underworld, monsters' combat prowess increased, allowing them to siphon energy from higher-level players. The underworld's layers were at varying levels of occupancy. The first, 54% full, the second, 43%, and the third, a mere 3%. These percentages represented the players capable of progressing to each respective level within the game. A muscular individual queried Boss Xiao, offering his knowledge and encouraging inquiries. Attendees of the meeting were apprehensive, fearing the prolonged silence from the Vatican. Misinterpreting the silence as intimidation, the muscular individual grew incensed, uncertain of how to proceed. The boy seethed with fury as the truth slowly dawned on him. This was not merely a game but a living nightmare. Though his essence remained unchanged, outwardly he embodied the persona of the Lord of Hell, consumed by rage, confusion, and a growing comprehension of his predicament. The realization struck him like a thunderbolt. This was not a game, but a genuine descent into hell. Every NPC was a fiendish monster, and even the purported bosses were bona fide demons. Moreover, his current form was not a mere avatar within a digital realm. It was the corporeal vessel of a true Lord of Hell. Sensing the Lord's silent contemplation, one assistant pledged to prepare for their next undertaking, recognizing the absence of inquiries within the Lord's time frame. The Lord of Hell queried whether siphoning energy from ordinary people would imperil their lives, aware of players succumbing to oblivion after their energy was drained. Lord Chao acknowledged the risk, having witnessed players vanish into nothingness after their energy was harvested. The burly assistant, with a dark complexion, denied any involvement or awareness of such occurrences, feigning ignorance. Asserting control over the players within his domain, the assistant declared their autonomy to act as they pleased, even contrary to the Lord's directives. Revealed to be a demon general under the Eastern Devil Emperor's command, She rebuked the assistant, reminding her of her subordinate status and admonishing her for speaking out of turn. Identified as the Demon General of Destruction, hailing from the tongue-pulling prison in the Eastern Devil Emperor's domain, her level stood at an impressive. This purported assistant was no ordinary aide but a seasoned bodyguard, capable of fiercely defending her master at a moment's notice. Her formidable strength instilled confidence, enabling her to confront the demon general without concern for her own safety. Seizing the opportunity, she forcefully subdued him, publicly shaming him for his transgressions against the Lord. With a menacing glare, she interrogated him, questioning whether he posed a threat to the Lord, incapacitating him with her razor-sharp nails. The bishop concluded the meeting, aiming to prevent further discord among the attendees, while privately reflecting on the revelations. Perplexed by the influx of information and uncertain about his next steps, the Lord found solace in the unwavering loyalty of his maid, who dutifully followed him, prepared to sacrifice her life for him. Contemplating a walk to clear his mind, the Lord sought confirmation from his maid regarding any scheduled obligations that might impede his thoughts. Advised by his maid to take a bath and rest after a strenuous day, the Lord acquiesced to her guidance. Stepping into his courtyard, he was greeted by a multitude of beautiful maidens, inquiring about his fatigue from the day's exertions. Overwhelmed, the Lord stammered that he wasn't particularly fatigued, marveling at the abundance of his stunning attendants. His reverie was interrupted by the sound of massive footsteps behind him, prompting him to turn and behold a towering girl with a serene visage, clad in white robes, offering assistance to escort him inside. Expressing concern for his well-being, the girl gently removed his towel, professing her willingness to fulfill any request from His Majesty. Standing before him unclothed, she awaited his command, her allure rendering him speechless. Enveloped in a haze of her beauty, the Lord found himself unable to focus on her nudity. Abruptly, Zhong Xiao was thrust back into the game, alerted by a system notification from above. Walking alongside a friend, Xiao was queried about his knowledge of the increasingly popular game, the Underworld. Though aware of the game's existence, Xiao cautioned his inexperienced and feeble-minded friend against partaking in its dangers. Days later, as he strolled through the streets, Xiao witnessed an ambulance rushing away, carrying a victim of the game's perils. Realizing that his friend, who had recently inquired about the game, now lay hospitalized due to it, Xiao's concerns deepened. Upon witnessing his friend's mother's tears, he immediately resolved to address the situation, determined to revive his friend and bring justice to those responsible. Discovering that the incident stemmed from prolonged helmet use, his friend's lack of exposure to sunlight and fresh air became evident. Why should my cherished one suffer due to this game's helmet? He's not just a friend. He's been a lifelong companion, akin to a brother. It was his duty to don the helmet and delve into this virtual world to seek answers, much like a devoted sibling would. He re-entered the game with urgency, driven by the need to unravel the mystery behind his friend's condition and the real-life dangers posed by the game. His sprint carried a determination fueled not by vengeance but by a thirst for truth, unlike any he had ever felt, even during pursuits to protect his resources. His abrupt halt left him bewildered. Why was he eliminated but not disconnected from the game? The puzzlement lingered. Before him stood an enchanting maiden, clad in regal attire, exuding an air of elite prowess. Captivated by her ethereal beauty, he was taken aback by her presence. She curtly instructed him to step aside, finding his presence bothersome. Swiftly departing the newbie village, the girl had already acquired some of the finest items, accessible only through donations. Though captivated by the girl, he realized now was not the time for distractions. His mission demanded his full attention. With resolve, he pressed on. Encountering a wilderness dweller, a level 1 inhabitant of the forest region, he dispatched him without hesitation, continuing steadfastly toward his objective. Without a second thought, he swiftly severed the savage's head and pressed onward. No one was spared in his relentless pursuit. He remained unwavering in his march toward his goal. At that moment, a muscular, Dark-skinned individual was also dispatched to the same area as our protagonist, converging on the same path. Along his journey, Xiao acquired his first loot from the mobs he vanquished. He grasped that delving deeper into the dungeon would unveil more information and provide answers to his inquiries. The lad possessed knowledge of a bug, one that surely surpassed the expectations of the Demon of Destruction, who convened the meeting. While unaware of the demon's existence, he knew of its schemes and was determined to thwart them. He relished discussing his plans to overthrow the underworld and claim power for himself. Upon hearing an odd noise, he discerned someone rummaging through the bushes behind him. Their clumsy attempts hinted at their frustration. To his surprise, it was the same girl who had crossed his path earlier, engaged in combat with vile monsters, outnumbered. Observing her affluent gear, obtained through donations, he realized the dungeon was draining real people's energy, feeding off their resources. Despite her impressive possessions, her resilience shone through, evident in her adept handling of the tasks before her. She battled the third-level swamp demons with finesse. Skilled in facing various mobs, she displayed prowess he hadn't witnessed before, solidifying her image as a true warrior in his eyes. Astonished by her wealth and beauty, he saw an opportunity to acquire quality equipment with her resources. Before confronting the monsters, he obtained an ice soul crystal, unaware of its imminent importance. This item bestowed a temporary 10% ice boost to any weapon but couldn't be reused. Armed with the soul crystal, he rushed to aid his newfound comrade, prepared to vanquish any foe in his path. Shin Hao marveled at the unexpected prowess and strength of this fighter, whose appearance belied their experience. Reawakening in the guise of the Lord once more, he struggled to comprehend the inexplicable recurrence. What was transpiring during these shifts? Emerging anew in a different form, the maids approached, concerned for his well-being, having perceived his collapse as a mere fainting spell. Inquiring about the Emperor's whereabouts, he was taken aback to learn of his departure from one of the maids. Shocked by their departure without his command, he found their actions intolerable and vowed harsh retribution. The maids offered to summon a doctor, despite the meeting having concluded and a full report delivered, further fueling his anger. Fuming, he demanded everyone leave his presence, his mood darkened by the unfolding events. The Lord grappled with a disconcerting realization of bodily changes, unable to comprehend his memory lapse and physical alterations. Meanwhile, Zhao assisted his inexperienced companion against the mobs, leveraging his skills and a rare crystal to provide support. Utilizing his abilities and the rare crystal, he temporarily subdued the monsters, aiding his new friend in the process. She marveled at his ability to defeat the monsters with skill alone, devoid of donated weaponry, a sight beyond her imagination. As the effects of the ice soul crystal waned, they faced the revived monsters, necessitating a strategy to overcome them. Surrounded and lacking formidable weaponry, they found themselves in a dire situation with no apparent escape. In a decisive moment, Hao intervened, using her strength to repel the monsters, protecting her friend. After driving off the monsters, she immobilized them with a crystal, enabling their progress in the world. Grateful for Yao's assistance in combating the monsters, she expressed her thanks. Xiao was taken aback, questioning if she possessed only monetary resources, feeling somewhat embarrassed by the inquiry. Curiously, Hao inquired how he knew about the effectiveness of ice attacks against swamp monsters. He explained that in the newcomer village, NPCs sold brief guides on overcoming beginner mobs, such as the one detailing strategies against the swamp monsters. Intrigued, she pressed for more information on where to find such mobs and how they could be beneficial. He admitted to only briefly glancing at the brochure when it was shown to him by an NPC, which surprised her. Xiao attributed his remarkable memory to his greatest asset, enabling him to recall information effortlessly. Impressed by his talents, strength, courage, and confidence, she praised him warmly. Departing, he advised her to focus on leveling up promptly to avoid wasting valuable equipment. Intriguingly, she proposed joining forces to strengthen themselves against the challenges of the game. Despite playing for 3 days, she struggled to navigate the forest surrounding the newbie village and sought assistance. Accustomed to solitary endeavors, Xiao hesitated to take on the burden but recognized the potential benefits. She revealed her wealth and offered him access to items purchased in the newbie village, emphasizing his freedom to choose from them. Surprised by her purchases, he questioned their necessity and legality. Desperate, she pleaded for his companionship, offering to compensate him generously for his guidance and assistance, citing her lack of combat experience but ample financial resources. Suddenly, the ground began to tremble, as if an earthquake were underway. A colossal red beam erupted from the earth, piercing the sky with a resounding brilliance that reverberated throughout the vicinity. Realizing this was the moment he had long awaited, Xiao sensed that what he had been striving for was finally within reach. Urgently grabbing his new companion, he hurried with her to confirm his suspicions. Fortunately, a rare elite dungeon lay nearby the newcomer village, though only adventurers from the 5th level onward could confidently challenge its trials and reap its rewards. However, armed with a cache of weapons, one could attempt the feat sooner. Despite some uncertainty, his companion agreed to accompany him, recognizing the value of additional combat experience. Near the entrance to the legendary epic cave, they spotted some figures. The dashing man from the magazine, accompanied by the winery's beacon of hope, and a formidable savage. Intent on robbing them, they advanced. Unexpectedly, bananas flew at their backs, causing them to slip and falter in confusion. Struggling to regain their footing, they slipped on the banana peels, thwarting their attempt to enter the portal. Seizing the opportunity, Xiao and his companion discreetly deployed more banana peels, causing the assailants to slip once more. Just as the portal began to close, they leaped into it, narrowly escaping to the desired location. The hapless assailants, slipping on banana peels, missed their chance to enter the dungeon, which only opened once every 10 days. The beacon of hope reassured them, claiming their levels were insufficient to conquer the dungeon. They simply needed to wait for their emergence and deal with them accordingly. Despite the looming threat, the beacon of hope chuckled confidently, unable to fathom a scenario where they would emerge victorious in battle. Each time they entered the dungeon, the monsters manifested randomly, each embodying properties diametrically opposed to one another: gold, earth, water, fire, and wood. Success hinged on wielding the appropriate weapon. Despite their efforts, none of the dragon weapons from the beginner village were suitable, even if they managed to acquire a rare weapon aligned with one of the 5 elements. Finding themselves in a desolate square, the surroundings appeared barren and devoid of life. Their gaze fell upon a creature imbued with the attribute of gold, a sight entirely new to them. Impressed by the game's craftsmanship and character design, Xiao refrained from mentioning the existence of real demons, fearing it might deter his companion from continuing the journey. He explained that to progress, they must cast aside reservations and work together. Proposing to split the experience evenly upon completion, he instructed her to adhere strictly to his guidance. He emphasized the importance of following his lead and abiding by his directives. The flaming sword, a weapon of the fire element, boasted formidable defense capabilities, dealing 100% damage to foes. Displaying remarkable courage and determination, Xiao attacked the monster with fervor, wielding the flaming sword with skill. The weapon proved superior to his previous sword, enhancing his combat prowess. Next, an earth attribute creature launched an assault, its menacing fangs and visage striking fear. Urgently, Xiao requested the thunder rod be passed to him without delay. His companion swiftly tossed him the thunder rod as the monstrous earth creature loomed. The battle hung in the balance, with victory seeming elusive. However, in a crucial moment, the thunder vine, a wood attribute weapon, dealt an additional 100% damage to the earth element, turning the tide of the battle. With 2 of the 3 dungeons conquered, they felt a sense of relief, believing the worst was behind them, and the path ahead would only grow smoother. As his sword met the ice, it froze instantly, leaving him seemingly defenseless, with no apparent solution in sight. A girl with a prominent snowflake marking on her forehead exuded a chilling aura, tinted blue, a clear indication of her affiliation with water, a crucial attribute, and the third in significance. Pressing forward, she encased the boy in ice, rendering him immobile as he succumbed to the frost. Contrary to expectation, the boy emerged from the icy confines, revealing it to be his sole armor, surprisingly fashioned from earth. It seemed fortune favored their journey through the dungeon. It appeared luck was on their side as they navigated the dungeon, guided by an unseen force. With unwavering determination, he delivered a powerful blow to her crystalline barrier. A surge of elation washed over him, a sensation reserved for victorious warriors. Having vanquished all adversaries, they emerged triumphant, completing the trial known as the Lucky Three and earning a reward of 1,500 points. Xiao's friend ascended from level 2 to level 7, a testament to their shared achievements. It was agreed that the fighter would wield only the blade, while his companion claimed the Phoenix Crown. Yet, she yearned for more, eager to discover where she could acquire additional gear. Reflecting on my decision to enhance my attributes, I realized her current possessions left her unsatisfied. She continually sought improvement. Xiao felt dismayed by her lack of understanding of the game's intricacies, necessitating his patient explanation of its mechanics, including the initial allocation of 100 experience points for each player. Experience levels corresponded to half the maximum experience points, translating to 50 points for the second level and 75 for the third. Upon leveling up, players garnered 3 soul power points to enhance their attributes, requiring careful consideration due to their irreversible nature. Hao expressed her struggle with the complexities, but Xiao reassured her, expressing confidence in their ability to navigate challenges together. The boy advised her to prioritize combat strength up to level 15, then allocate points in a 2-to-1-to-1 ratio for courage, determination, and intelligence. Zhong Xiao, a swordsman at level 8, possessed 675 health, 264 attack power, 245 defense, 31 speed, and a critical damage rate of 12%. Despite the boy being a level above, her attack and defense surpassed his. Xiao insisted they had delayed the inevitable for too long and urged haste, prompting his girlfriend to inquire about their destination. Suddenly, the grass beneath their feet revealed itself to be an ambush. These assailants had been lying in wait to plunder their resources. Without hesitation, Xiao swiftly dispatched the thieves with a single swing. Hao marveled at the bravery of the warrior who not only defended himself but also protected his companion. Bewildered, the attackers questioned how a player of such low level could overpower them and why their weapons failed against him. As they leveled up, the boy reached level 8 and his girlfriend level 7, leaving their adversaries bewildered. Unable to overcome them, the attackers reluctantly pinned their hopes on their boldest member. Ironically, the most boastful among them was the first to flee in terror. Though inherently noble, our fighter was compelled to retaliate when provoked by the attackers' aggression. Fleeing in fear, the attackers realized the futility of their weapons against our hero's might. Our heroes emerged victorious, their skills growing stronger with each encounter, while their adversaries were left humiliated. Xiao inquired about their next move, whether his girlfriend would accompany him or venture alone into the unknown. Hao expressed satisfaction with their partnership, eager to continue journeying together if he agreed. Urging haste, Xiao proposed reaching the Peach Blossom line before sunset the following day. Acknowledging her slower pace, he promised to adjust his speed to ensure they stayed together. Suddenly, she underwent a remarkable transformation, transcending from an ordinary girl to a stunning maiden. Adorned in a sleek black top and matching accessories, she exuded an air of mystery. A black robe adorned with straps accentuated her figure, hinting at her newfound strength. Confident in her enhanced abilities, she challenged him to keep pace with her. Clad in the Night Ghost Aragon attire, she boasted increased movement speed, though his attention seemed fixed on her captivating gaze. Sensing his admiration, she explained her deliberate choice of attire, confident it would pique the interest of any observer. Puzzled by her purchase of attire unsuitable for a swordsman, she questioned his judgment. Advising her on alternatives to increase her speed, He suggested acquiring storm boots or an amulet of thunder speed before she urged him to follow. Xiao wondered if her frustration stemmed from his resistance to her allure, reflecting on his past susceptibility to such charms. However, he remained unmoved, having gained perspective through his experiences. Their destination, the Valley of Peach Blossoms, had garnered attention for its rare treasures, attracting numerous players to join their quest. The journey to their destination was arduously long, testing their patience. Finally arriving at Peach Blossom Valley, they felt the urgency to act swiftly before others congregated there. Xiao suggested a brief respite, but his girlfriend insisted on pressing forward to secure valuable resources ahead of the competition. Recognizing that most high-level players were already present with subpar equipment, they opted to observe rather than hastily engage, seeking to make informed decisions. Hao, perplexed by Xiao's actions, questioned his motives, unable to comprehend his disregard for the coveted items. Baffled by his assumption that no store existed, she consulted the map to prove him wrong. Discovering a nearby store, she realized Xiao had misled her intentionally. Suddenly, they heard a voice, a salesman beckoning them into the store. The salesman, in the form of a skull, boasted an array of artifacts, rare items, and exquisite weapons. Promising them 10 minutes to browse, the salesman failed to mention the inflated prices compared to those in the beginner village. Feeling deceived, they were urged to return to the newcomer village where prices were more reasonable. Frustrated by the attempt to swindle them, they confronted the skeleton, ready to retaliate. However, Hao surprised them by adding 3 million coins to Xiao's balance, amounting to $3 million, thwarting the salesman's scheme. Meanwhile, in Bloodbath Valley, chaos ensued as monsters attacked, dropping rare rewards for players who dealt fatal blows. Frustration mounted among the players as the monsters disrupted their real-life obligations. The sudden onset of an earthquake jolted everyone, shattering their disbelief and leaving them stunned. Emerging from the ground, a terrifying demon general with a sinister green aura appeared, striking fear into their hearts. Reacting swiftly, they launched a collective assault, underestimating the boss's strength and assuming victory would be swift. However, with a single swing, the demon general effortlessly repelled their attacks, leaving them defenseless. In an instant, the players fell, their hopes dashed as they were unable to even engage in battle against the formidable foe. Bewildered, they questioned why such a powerful monster appeared on the first level, claiming the lives of their comrades with ease. Unrelenting, the boss continued to unleash his devastating power, decimating player after player without mercy. Yet, a sudden barrage of fire arrows and elixirs from a novice team caught the monster off guard, demonstrating the effectiveness of ranged attacks and strategic thinking. Despite their ingenuity, the monster swiftly disposed of the newcomers with a single throw of his axe. With their strength waning, despair set in as they realized their inability to defeat the seemingly invincible foe. Sensing defeat, the players opted for a tactical retreat, bewildered by the unforgiving challenge they faced. Confusion reigned as they questioned the purpose of such a daunting event where none could emerge victorious. Unyielding, the monster pursued them relentlessly, determined not to let any escape his wrath. Unleashing a devastating green ray, the monster indiscriminately targeted each player, displaying boundless cruelty. Despite its seemingly basic attack, each player suffered a significant loss of HP, leaving them perplexed and fearing the worst. With their HP dangerously low, the players resigned themselves to their impending demise, accepting their fate. However, the boss's attention was suddenly drawn to a round blue sphere, leaving him puzzled and uncertain. The sphere revealed itself as a blue ice orb, encasing the boss in frost and temporarily neutralizing his threat. Xiao's friend urged the players to flee, recognizing that only they possessed the means to defeat the boss. As the players scattered, the boss could only watch helplessly as his prey escaped beyond his reach. Realizing the temporary nature of his icy prison, the boss prepared to shatter it with ease. Yet, before he could act, the ice vanished inexplicably, leaving him bewildered. Seizing the opportunity, Xiao leaped onto the boss, brandishing a fiery sword with intent to strike. Sensing impending danger, the boss realized his mistake, but it was too late to evade. Xiao delivered a devastating blow, fueled by determination and courage, piercing the monster with a fiery beam. Adorned in magnificent golden armor adorned with crimson rubies, Xiao stood victorious, leaving onlookers in awe of his prowess. Witnesses marveled at Xiao's bravery and skill, unable to comprehend how he had emerged victorious against such overwhelming odds. Envious of his colorful and impressive equipment, many players questioned its origin, unable to fathom where he acquired it. Xiao's triumph seemed almost surreal to some, leading many to question its authenticity. The monster, caught off guard by Xiao's unexpected assault, struggled to comprehend how he had failed to anticipate it. Engaged in a fierce battle, Xiao continued to press his advantage, undeterred by his growing fatigue. With unwavering resolve, Xiao relentlessly attacked the monster, sticking to his plan without faltering. The spectators were astounded by Xiao's mastery of a critical hit combo, unable to comprehend how a newcomer wielded such an advanced technique. Equally bewildered, the boss faced the onslaught of Xiao's 10th consecutive combination, each strike dealing exponentially more damage than the last, leaving him with mere slivers of HP remaining. While Xiao's sword proved formidable, its power came at a cost. Yet, if sacrificing it could save his fellow players, it would be a worthy trade-off. Concealing a smirk, the boss harbored a secret trump card, one he hadn't yet revealed. Suddenly, his health became impervious to damage, deflecting any attacks directed towards him. With a taunting grin, the boss unleashed a devastating punch, inflicting incredible damage upon Xiao. A vivid green aura emanated from the monster's fist, propelling Xiao backward with tremendous force. Despite only suffering a fraction of his health, Xiao felt the weight of the blow, realizing the potency of the monster's attack. However, the dungeon gold armor he wore significantly mitigated the damage, granting him a 50% chance to evade attacks and reducing damage taken by 70%. Gathering his resolve, Xiao understood that his mission was far from over, determined to see it through to the end. Unfazed, Xiao contemplated his next move, aware of his own ace in the hole. He pondered whether the health lock would still hold if he targeted the monster's weak spot, much to the monster's annoyance. Unbeknownst to Xiao, the monster prepared to unleash an unforeseen attack, testing the limits of the boy's endurance. Despite the toll on his health, Xiao remained resolute, feeling the weight of his injuries. With a reload time of 5 seconds, Xiao knew he had to act swiftly. As the monster laughed triumphantly, Xiao resolved to strike before the next attack, aware that time was running out. Despite the monster's confidence, Xiao remained determined to emerge victorious. Everyone grasped the imminent danger he faced and implored him to leave immediately, shouting for him to flee. Despite the warnings, he comprehended the risks thoroughly and opted to switch the weapon he would employ to confront him. The creature was astounded by his weapon change, unable to fathom such a move. Yet, fearing he might not succeed in time, it deemed the act futile, lacking faith in him. Determined to rely on his own skill, he activated the rapid blade technique. Xiao's thunder step augmented his movement speed by 100%. Bringing the monster to its knees, the unexpected turn of events stunned everyone witnessing the battle. Bewildered, the monster couldn't comprehend the sudden acceleration as its health dwindled to 0. The boy clarified that the blade boosted his movement speed twofold. Dealing the decisive blow to the demon general, anticipation of the impending reward filled everyone with joy. Sensing the monster's awareness of its vulnerability, Xiao remained wary, knowing it might seek revenge. Exhausted from the ordeal, he realized the monster harbored suspicions. Aware of his own exposure, he understood reporting to the king of the pit would endanger him. Despite his girlfriend's confusion, he recognized the urgency of the situation and the necessity of action. They needed to find a secluded spot for her to execute the deed. Perplexed by the notion of killing him, she noticed his armor lay scattered, leaving him vulnerable. Urging her to act swiftly, he promised to explain later, requesting she contact his friend at the hospital for an update on his condition. Xiao arranged to meet her again in the newcomer village in 3 days at midnight, insisting that she act swiftly. As she drove the sword into him, blood spilled everywhere, his own blood. He dismissed the pain, comparing it to the ordeal of dying in the real world. The agony he felt mirrored the sensation of having his energy drained. The underworld boss reappeared, feeling disoriented and drained of energy. Upon opening his eyes, he found himself beneath towering sakura trees. His maid, tears welling in her eyes, leaned over him with her beautiful gaze. Both were bewildered. She, shocked by his prone form, and the boss, surprised by his continued presence in this realm. She tenderly cared for him, bewildering him with her affection, which he tried to evade. Apologizing for the inconvenience, he puzzled her with his fluctuating mood. She insisted that his every whim was her utmost joy to fulfill. Feeling dizzy and unwell, he urged her to take him swiftly to the well of reincarnation. Anxious to discover what was amiss, he demanded immediate action. He commanded her to hasten to the well with him without delay. Confused by his sudden change in demeanor, she wondered if he mocked her, yet found solace in his unexpected kindness. Though unfamiliar, she welcomed his tenderness, craving his love and care. The demon of destruction had appeared and vanished, leaving behind a trail of curses. The maid, shocked by the defeat, marveled at the victor's prowess. The monster was rattled by the revelation of his vulnerability, prompting him to inform the Ghost Emperor of his intent to capture and eliminate the perpetrator. The Lord of Hell, accompanied by his maid, hurried to intercept and thwart the monster's plans. Approaching a transport hub, they encountered an attendant who inquired about their destination. The monster demanded immediate travel to see the ghostly emperor, urging the fastest beast available. The transport beast resembled a colossal serpent emerging from water. Towering over the assistant, the dragon-like creature seemed immense. The assistant bid them farewell, remarking on the dragon's capability to traverse vast distances in the nether. They arrived just as the monster was departing, risking dire consequences had he reached his destination. The Lord assured him they wouldn't allow him to proceed. Puzzled, the monster glanced back, sensing something amiss. With a single stroke, he cleaved the water apart, dividing everything and everyone in its depths. Confused and choking on water, the monster pondered what transpired and his perceived wrongdoing. The stunned assistant warned them to keep their distance from the powerful Lord. Perplexed by the Lord's actions, the monster questioned why he was obstructed from reaching his destination. The bishop, astonished by the Lord's strength, inquired about his haste, impressed by his effortless display of power. The fearful monster explained his encounter with something peculiar, needing to report to the emperor. Yet, the Lord, determined to identify the orchestrator of the scheme, insisted on reporting to the ghostly emperor. He discerned the monster's condescending attitude. Despite the monster's attempts to downplay his disrespect, the Lord pressed for information, suspecting a leak of sensitive details. The maid was bewildered. Who could His Highness suspect of such betrayal? He dismissed any further discussion, citing his urgency to depart. The Lord recognized the moment to strike, seizing the opportunity to use a discreet and small weapon to attack from behind. He brandished the underworld phantom sickle, a potent weapon in his grasp. Despite its ostentatious appearance, the sickle was far from discreet or small, presenting a stark incongruity. The monster, startled by the choice of weapon, began to fear for his life. Calming the monster, the Lord assured him he merely wished to test the weapon. With a mighty stroke, he inflicted a significant wound on the modest monster, testing the sickle's devastating power. Despite his erratic handling, the weapon proved immensely potent, draining energy instead of blood. Shocked by the audacity of the attack, the monster feared the retribution of the Phantom Emperor. Frustrated by the weapon's presence, he yearned to rid himself of it. Prostrate and tearful, he pleaded for mercy, begging the great Lord for another chance. Suddenly, a tight red transparent rope encircled his neck, dragging him back with suffocating force. Confused and gasping for air, he couldn't fathom who orchestrated this assault. It was revealed to be the Lord's assistant, ready to intervene and protect him at a moment's notice. The Lord was puzzled by her ability to subdue such a powerful monster with just a single rope, leaving him utterly perplexed. Without a hint of uncertainty or pause, she carried out the task silently. The esteemed Lord commended her actions, filling her with joy. He instructed to wait outside while he meticulously organized the documents. Considering the Lord of Hell's involvement in crafting the game, he undoubtedly possessed the necessary information. Mastering the game's fundamentals would grant him unparalleled power. Perplexed, the maid couldn't comprehend why the Lord suddenly targeted the demon general, contrary to his usual strategy of patience and strategic analysis. She speculated that his actions were a defense of her, believing she was the target of his aggression. Unaware of her significance in his eyes, she attributed his deeds solely to her. Meanwhile, our protagonist, disguised as the Lord's, meticulously studied the game's complexities and regulations. Through his reading, he discerned the ghostly emperor's intent to siphon a substantial amount of energy from the real world. The phantom wave, set for the night of September 9th, would last 6 hours, obstructing system notifications and player deaths. As the protective barrier around the newcomer village dissipated, the ghostly wave would assail and obliterate the crystal, trapping players within the game, subjecting them to death. Assuming the guise of the Overlord, our protagonist hoped players would thwart this plan, accruing triple experience and continuing their game without succumbing to the 1040% surge in incoming energy. Realizing it was September 9th, he anxiously pondered the nefarious schemes slated for the day. Sensing an unprecedented change within him, he felt it was time to depart, as if something momentous awaited him. The maid, perplexed by the commotion emanating from his chamber, was uncertain of the situation unfolding within. Entering the room with excitement, she addressed him as, "Your Highness." Inquiring about his position on the floor, she met his gaze, fraught with anger and discontent. Concerned, she queried if he had collapsed once more, and if medical assistance was required. Met with another surge of anger, he adamantly refused her touch, demanding she retract her hands immediately. Disheartened by her futile efforts, she lamented the lost moment, feeling deeply upset. Acknowledging the absurdity of the situation, she implored the Lord for punishment. In that instance, he recognized something amiss, plagued as he often was by memory lapses. Our protagonist entertained the notion of remaining within the Lord of Hell's body to withstand the ghostly wave, only to be forcefully expelled. Assuming his guise, Xiao resolved to disseminate the newfound knowledge to alert everyone. He cautioned against accessing the internet until September 10th, spreading the word to heighten vigilance. Recognizing the potential for leveling up by slaying ghosts, Xiao strategically positioned himself advantageously. The sky bore an ominous hue, signaling the imminent commencement of events. Ghostly apparitions materialized, instilling fear in players who were previously engrossed in monster hunts. Bracing for an inevitable battle, our fighter remained poised for any outcome. Explosions reverberated across the landscape, swiftly decimating mobs within seconds. Angry ghostly manifestations, resembling primates, emerged with a thirst for violence, posing a lethal threat to all. Mengmu, a skilled marksman wielding a firearm, stood at level 6 with full HP of her attack prowess measured at 46 damage, complemented by a defense stat of. Surprisingly, her speed received a substantial 35% boost, attributed to the mysterious dark light weapon in her possession, leaving Xiao astonished. Puzzled, Mengmu couldn't comprehend the sudden ferocity of the monster onslaught against the players. Determined to eradicate the threat, Xiao recognized the necessity for constant movement with her formidable weapon to avoid being overwhelmed by enemies. Driven by the desire to protect her from harm, Xiao resolved to lend his assistance. The coveted Gatling Dash, a rare find, couldn't be acquired with mere currency. Convincing her to join forces was imperative, but first, Xiao sought to reap the rewards from the Valley of Peach Blossoms battle. Surging from level 8 to 15, Xiao eagerly anticipated the bonuses awaiting him. Approximately 10,000 gold coins rewarded him, surprising the system with his triumph over the formidable boss. Addressing his leveling concerns later, Xiao prioritized aiding Meng Mu. Finding herself encircled by foes, Meng Mu sought aid, surprised by the strength of her potential savior. With a resounding strike of his massive golden sword, Xiao cleared the area of enemies, shielding Meng Mu from imminent danger. Teetering on the brink of death, Meng Mu was saved in the nick of time by Xiao's timely intervention. Witnessing his boldness, Meng Mu was taken aback by Xiao's unexpected display of strength and chivalry. Dispatching the monsters with ease, Xiao ensured they posed no further threat, putting an end to their menace. Shielding Meng Mu's eyes from the gruesome scene, Xiao spared her the sight of their suffering. However, the monsters swiftly revived under the influence of a spectral wave, prompting a decision to ascend the stairs. Clinging tightly to his shoulder, she held on with a grip of desperation. Gasping for breath, she realized she had narrowly escaped death just moments ago, thanks to the mysterious stranger who intervened. Puzzled, she wondered where he acquired such remarkable equipment and amassed such wealth. Recalling that a simple flying claw from the novice village store cost a mere 3 gold coins, she marveled at his foresight in preparation. Astonished by his foresight, she couldn't fathom how he anticipated the need for such tools. He explained his cautious nature, surprising her with his ability to foresee the monster's rampage. Explaining that he was mining nearby when he witnessed the chaos unfold, he sought refuge. Amazed by his level 15 status, she pledged to partner exclusively with him in future endeavors. Allocating his points with a ratio of 2 to 1 to 1, he focused on enhancing his skills and activating his exclusive abilities. Upon activation, a notification congratulated him on unlocking the exclusive skill, Bloodlust, sparking both intrigue and determination to progress further. Intrigued yet apprehensive, he felt a surge of motivation to continue developing as his newfound companion urged them to draw nearer. A formidable neon army, driven by destruction, loomed ahead, formidable in both strength and numbers. Disciplined and organized, the ghost soldiers, remnants of past battles, posed a threat in their collective might. With a commanding gesture, the soldier on horseback signaled the onslaught, prompting them to brace themselves for the impending attack. Eager to investigate, Zhao's girlfriend urged him to stand back and observe as she took charge. Methodically, she picked off soldier after soldier, seemingly oblivious to any threat they posed. Reveling in the knight's embrace, she felt invincible, capable of continuing her onslaught until daybreak. As they spotted 2 players atop the mountain, arrows rained down upon them, causing significant damage and draining their strength. With their vitality waning, they realized the urgency of retreat, especially upon noticing the presence of students nearby. A catapult added to the adversary's arsenal threatened to further escalate the danger. Surprised by the warriors' lack of restraint, they had assumed them to be more civilized opponents. Despite the escalating onslaught, the duo persevered in the face of adversity. The warriors grew increasingly aggressive with each passing moment, intensifying the onslaught. The enemy's ferocity only heightened, fueling their determination to find a safer battleground. Recognizing the need for a strategic retreat, the brave fighter made the decision to relocate. Swift as lightning, they vanished from the battlefield, leaving the bewildered warriors behind. Impressed by his strength and valor, she realized she was in the presence of a true protector. Xiao proposed a change in tactics, opting to equip her with the great sword. Summoning the formidable weapon, she admired his bravery even more, willing to do anything for his sake. Bewildered, the warriors began to sense a shift in momentum, confused by their sudden disadvantage. Utilizing the magnificent weapon, Xiao swiftly dispatched their foes and soared away with his newfound companion. Following the overthrow of their commander-in-chief, the entire army hesitated on whether to proceed, lacking a figure capable of commanding them entirely. This buoyed the morale of our fighter, though the girl beside him remained in a state of shock. Awakened with a desire for retribution, he sought to demonstrate the vengeance he held for those responsible. However, our comrades decided it was time to retreat from the battlefield, fleeing as swiftly as possible to evade the lopsided conflict. They escaped through the treacherous forests, teeming with monsters eager to claim a victim. Xiao proposed venturing into the dungeon to assert his status as the mightiest being on Earth. Yet, his girlfriend opposed the idea, citing their dwindling strength and resources to confront the earthly dragon. Nonetheless, the prospect of tripled experience points drove the boy, presenting an irresistible opportunity for further advancement. She marveled at his courage, recognizing the rarity of players who prioritized selflessness over survival. Suddenly, his old friend Hao appeared out of nowhere, embracing him with immense joy. Relieved to have found him, she recounted the haunting of the newcomer's village, where ghosts ambushed and killed players upon entry to the network. Xiao was astonished by the continued access to the network, contrary to the Overlord's notebook's predictions during the Phantom Wave. Amidst their conversation, a strikingly attractive girl emerged, captivating everyone with her gaze. Despite her pleasant appearance, she swiftly attacked our protagonist, catching him off guard. Advising against immediate conflict, he urged her to calm down and engage in a rational conversation. Emphasizing the need for unity as their foremost priority, he implored her to cease hostilities. Startled by her sudden act of aggression, he found himself at a loss for how to respond. Identified as Lin Unit, she embodied the role of an assassin with formidable statistics: health at 300 out of 300, attack power of 126, a significant increase in movement speed by 260%, critical damage level 8, and a defense of. Perplexed by Zhang Zhao's sudden disappearance, the girls wondered how he had vanished in an instant. Instantly reappearing behind her, he insisted it was time for a serious discussion. Recognizing his unusual form and formidable sword, she acknowledged him as a formidable opponent unlike any she had encountered. Fuming with anger, she lamented the rarity of individuals capable of besting her prior to encountering him. The boy was stunned by her swift response, unprepared for her retaliation. Dismissing him with disdain and hurling her nunchucks, she resolved to eliminate him from her path. Urging his friends to assist him in fending off her shurikens, he found himself in a dire situation. Meanwhile, Hao searched for any useful items that could aid them in the confrontation. Simultaneously, his second girlfriend activated the key capture mode on her purple machine gun, prepared for victory. However, instead of bullets, the machine gun unleashed a massive web that ensnared two of their companions. Warning against resistance, she explained that struggling would only tighten the web's grip. Recognizing an opportunity, the boy seized the chance to approach his new girlfriend, pinning himself to the ground and inquiring about her well-being. As he lay atop her, she gazed at him in disbelief, unable to comprehend how, after countless battles and rigorous practice, she could falter. He leaned in, nearly kissing her. He found himself unable to resist her allure, despite realizing the concession he was making. The group began to debate over who should venture into the dungeon, each eager to secure the necessary resources. Tragically, 3 of her companions had perished in previous battles, marking their third dungeon attempt. Xiao assured her there was no need to wait. As per the rules of the Ghost Wave, her friends wouldn't be able to log on that evening. Acknowledging the futility of entering without ultimate abilities, she offered not to impede their progress. However, the boy sought to persuade her, citing her familiarity with the dungeon and the potential for mutual benefit in teaming up again. Despite his character's limitations, he emphasized the current opportunity for significant leveling up. Reluctantly agreeing to join forces, she refused to share her contact information, intending to part ways after the night's endeavors. Their first friend criticized her for her perceived self-centeredness and arrogance. In his presence, her friend realized her feelings extended beyond mere friendship. Urging haste, Uni reminded them of the limited time available. Hao redirected their focus to the task at hand, emphasizing the need to set aside personal matters for now. Xiao inquired about contacting the hospital, to which Hao relayed his younger sister's response. It became apparent that the boy had been neglecting breaks for several days, prompting his sister's warning of potential medical intervention if he persisted in his continuous online presence. Yet the question lingered. How had he been eating all this time? Shouldn't his sister have intervened? They wondered how. It transpired that his sister had been supplying him with all the leftover food, resulting in him gaining nearly 30 kilograms over the course of these days. On the opposite side lay the Earth Dragon's lair. Upon entering, the group would need to heed the commands of this girl if they hoped to emerge victorious. Emerging from the portal, they found themselves uncertain of what lay ahead. Everything was unfamiliar, keeping them on edge at all times. A foul odor assaulted their senses, emanating from the earthly dragon's blood, which had yet to dry as the dragon swiftly regenerated. Their shock only deepened as they beheld what lay before them, prompting them to grasp their weapons without hesitation. Right before them stood the dragon, and Mengmu's friend swiftly readied her weapon. It was an earth dragon aligned with the earth element, boasting a health pool of 2,200, an attack power of 500, a defense of 600, and a speed of 10. Its skills included Hellfire, which belched flames from its mouth, inflicting damage on its target over 10 seconds, and Poison Armor, dealing partial damage to nearby players. The dragon's scales proved impenetrable to her friend's weapon. They devised a plan, to lure the dragon closer, then strike at the most opportune moment. Hao launched an attack from behind while urging Mengmu to divert the dragon's attention. Agreeing to the plan, she armed herself and moved to distract the dragon. As it turned out, these were genuine hellish monsters, not resetting with each encounter. This meant the dragon retained memories of its previous deaths, recognizing their trap. Xiao insisted it was unsafe and advocated for a retreat to prevent casualties. Caught off guard by the unexpected turn of events, the girls immediately began to panic. Anxiety clouded their expressions as uncertainty loomed over the next pivotal moments, determining their fates. Emerging from the gaping maw of the monstrous entity, a colossal green beam surged forth, obliterating everything in its luminous, powerful path. His agility proved overwhelming. She found herself cornered with no escape and snared in confusion. Not content with maintaining his pace, he accelerated his onslaught with each passing second. Spewing venom indiscriminately, his emerald rays sought to strike down nearly every member of our group. Those who evaded the assault endured the harrowing confrontation, emerging battered but alive. Swift reflexes came to her aid. Hao's timely intervention assisted her newfound companion in navigating the chaos. A boy's attempt to intervene met immediate resistance, rebuffed with the assertion that he didn't belong. His intentions were noble, yet oblivious to the danger, they swiftly subdued him. Lin found herself overwhelmed by the unfolding events, bewildered by her surroundings and circumstances. A sense of foreboding gripped her, prompting her to grasp her blade, prepared for any unforeseen threat, though nothing could prepare her for this. The advancing monster exuded rage and aggression, seemingly unstoppable until colossal needles emerged from the earth, impeding its progress. The girls persisted in their assault on the boy until their attention was diverted by the sudden appearance of inexplicable phenomena. In the midst of their onslaught, peculiar entities materialized, seizing the girls' gaze and diverting their focus. Lin's attempt to engage the dragon was thwarted by the protruding needles, immobilizing her in place. Ensnared by the thorns, she was rendered incapacitated, though mercifully spared from fatal harm. She pondered why the dragon had withheld this technique until now, rather than employing it earlier. Immobile and vulnerable, she became the dragon's perfect prey as the day drew to a close. Despite nursing his deserved bruises, our valiant fighter recognized the need to turn the tide of the situation. A green ray surged from the dragon's jaws, poised to snuff out her life. Her mind resigned to the swift conclusion, anticipating transition to another realm. Donning golden armor, our courageous comrade shielded her, absorbing the onslaught and preserving her life. Their attempt to ensnare the monster with a green rope proved futile, granting only a brief respite as the creature broke free, consumed by vengeance. Despite their efforts, the monster easily shattered the binding rope, hungering for further retribution. MANHWA asserted the futility of such measures against a foe of such formidable stature. Xiao discerned that 2-gram grenades could immobilize the dragon momentarily, sufficient for their needs. However, his companion questioned the purpose. Our fighter instructed for 2 more grenades to be thrown at his signal. His companion recoiled, questioning his sanity, suggesting retreat from the dungeon as the 4 of them stood little chance against the dragon. Yet, he insisted on their deliberate choice of dungeon. He had deliberately selected this dungeon due to his intimate knowledge of the dragon's weaknesses, acquired during his time as a lord. The Earth Dragon's formidable armor presented a daunting challenge for novice adventurers. A realization dawned upon him during his previous incarnation. His understanding, gleaned from a secret tome, revealed the dragon's vulnerabilities, empowering every player to vanquish this formidable foe. They came to the realization that the dragon was poised to unleash stone spikes and urged a swift retreat. Undeterred, our hero fearlessly leapt onto the dragon, displaying remarkable courage and strength. A net was cast over the dragon, effectively immobilizing it with little chance of escape. The team opted to lay mines along the enemy's path. When detonated, the mines generated a powerful shockwave, repelling any nearby foes without causing harm. The boy maneuvered flawlessly atop the dragon, his strategy unfolding seamlessly. With a decisive strike, he neared vanquishing the dragon, victory seemingly within reach. They discovered the weak spot, a glowing vulnerability on its belly. Xiao observed that significant damage to the Earth Dragon's belly would briefly expose its weakness. Their team capitalized on the terrain to exploit this vulnerability. The necessary materials for upgrading their equipment were readily available. The boy pledged to craft more gear this time. As a reward, they received 1,000 experience points, 10 pieces of earthly dragon femur, 15 pieces of earthly dragon soft armor, and 1 void pill of earthly ATP. Despite the rewards, there was little time for celebration as a new round commenced, demanding their full attention. Donned in his attire, he appeared invincible, ensuring victory was imminent. How? By employing thunder vines to restrain the dragon's movements and prevent it from deploying stone shields. They utilized explosive mines to expose the dragon's vulnerable stomach and weak points. With ease, the boy slid his sword along the dragon's belly, sealing its fate. This round yielded twice the experience points compared to the previous one. The next round arrived swiftly, and they maintained their strategy, leaving the dragon no opportunity to retaliate. Round after round, they defeated the dragon, extinguishing any flicker of hope for its victory. The repetitive victories brought joy to the group, as they relentlessly overpowered the dragon, reaping plentiful experience each time. As their supply of grenades dwindled and disagreements arose, they faced a challenge. Fortunately, the boys had stocked up on cargo carts and explosive mines for this very purpose, ensuring they could continue their onslaught against the dragon. They recognized the necessity of repeating their tactics to maximize their experience gains, despite the weariness it brought. The dragon was reduced to despair, weary from battling these relentless warriors round after round. Meanwhile, the Lord of Hell instructed his minions to identify the top players, though their motives remained unclear. If the system was correct, the data pertaining to that individual was within the cave. Zhang Zhao's name had become synonymous with arrogance. Throughout their time there, the boy had ascended to level 17, while his girlfriend reached level. Additionally, his other 2 companions reached levels 14 and 13, respectively. Following the intense battle, exhaustion enveloped everyone, leaving them incapable of further action. The girls retired to rest, wishing the boys luck and promising to reconvene in the evening after recuperating. Concerned for her friend's well-being, she urged him to quit the game and prioritize rest, recognizing the potential harm it could inflict on his health. Yielding to her own fatigue, she too exited the game to seek much-needed rest. Ignoring their advice, our fighter decided that recuperating through meditation within the game was preferable to risking his sanity outside of it. Briefly closing his eyes, He sensed someone approaching and realized a figure was standing over him, casting a shadow that blocked the sunlight. Before him stood two girls, one clad in black attire and the other in white, regarding him with evident disdain. Expressing his weariness, he questioned their presence, desiring peace and solitude for his meditation. Recognizing their black and white garments, he identified them as transient deities. Astonished by his perceptiveness, the girls sought to assess his true strength, underestimating his latent potential. The black-clad girl produced a purple chain to test its ability to restrain him. Meanwhile, the girl in white unleashed a purple beam, aiming to strike him. The force of the blow left him reeling, unparalleled in its intensity. As the black-clad girl ensnared him with the chain, rendering him immobile, he felt an overwhelming sense of powerlessness. Despite his struggles, the chains bound him completely, leaving him at their mercy. With a sardonic smile, the girls seemed to anticipate this outcome. Experiencing excruciating pain, he found himself drained of combat energy, wholly consumed by their onslaught. Attacked from both sides, he faced a relentless assault, with the girl in white launching strikes from behind, while the black-clad girl manipulated the chains. In a decisive moment, he utilized the coffin talisman to evade capture, recognizing the need to neutralize one of his assailants to gain an advantage. Observing the girl in white open a mysterious purple portal, he sensed an invitation, albeit one he was reluctant to accept. The girl wielded a seemingly cheat-like weapon with boundless expansion and extensive reach, presenting a formidable challenge. Mockingly, the black-clad girl warned him not to soil his trousers, their laughter echoing their skepticism of his ability to overcome them. These duplicated portals relentlessly assaulted him, preventing any chance of recuperation. Under the relentless assault, his underground golden armor shattered, leaving him with only standard equipment. Realizing the futility of facing both adversaries simultaneously, he sought to neutralize one by luring them into a pit. Activating a skill named Bloodlust, he embraced the thrill of battle, even as lightning tore through his body. Fueled by anger and a thirst for revenge, his determination to defeat the girls burned fiercely. A mysterious demon-like silhouette, matching the hue of his lightning, materialized above him, exuding an aura of intimidation. A purple radiance emanated from him, enveloping him in a powerful and intimidating form. Even the surroundings took on a purple hue as the reflection of his power cascaded onto the girls. One of the girls scoffed at his bravado, deeming it unwarranted for a seemingly feeble spirit. Sensing a threat approaching from behind, he realized too late that it was a blade aimed at him. Understanding the gravity of their confrontation, he braced himself for a battle that could determine life or death. In the duel, blocking an enemy's attack would gradually drain his health, with the effect only ceasing upon either his or the enemy's demise. With a powerful swing of his sword, yellow rays emanated from it, aimed to pierce the girl's defenses. The girl stood perplexed, realizing that none of these strikes would inflict any harm upon her. With a dismissive gesture, she declared she had had enough, then turned on her heel and departed, displaying a lack of interest in the impending altercation, as she was already certain of its outcome. The girl in black queried the white-clad girl if she had backed down, suggesting an end to their confrontation. In response, the latter suggested they depart promptly. The young man was astounded to find that even the game's parameters couldn't affect them. They could even forcibly disable his unique abilities. Additionally puzzling was their sudden arrival and departure without explanation, leaving him perplexed about their intentions. This was because the Lord had instructed them to closely monitor him, ensuring immediate reporting in case of any issues. One of the girls proposed to the other that they synchronize with the equipment elements, allowing the system to transmit their data to him. The second girl consented, and they began to disrobe. Stripping down completely, they drew near to each other, initiating one of the merging procedures. Ascending together, they fused into a singular entity, emitting a massive burst of energy that illuminated the entire vicinity. Transforming into small rings hovering above the young man, they bore no resemblance to their former selves. At that moment, the young man was utterly drained, his armor in shambles. Fortunately, he had amassed ample resources to craft a new set from the rookie village. He received a notification, declaring him the chosen lucky Hell Lord, rewarded with powerful accessories. Yin and Yang bracelets. Bewildered, the young man observed his hands engulfed in purple and blue rays, pondering the significance of the accolades bestowed upon him. Black and white bracelets adorned his wrists, imbuing him with formidable strength to vanquish his adversaries. Perplexed by the unfamiliarity of the Yin and Yang bracelets, the player learned from the game's warning that removing these accessories would result in severe consequences. Swiftly realizing that these bracelets were the transformed entities of the girls who had battled him, designed to monitor his movements and health, he remained vigilant at all times. Despite the constant surveillance, the young man expressed gratitude to the higher powers for bestowing upon him these bracelets, masking his true understanding to avoid detection. Meanwhile, in the newcomer village, a massive blue crystal dominated the scene as players engaged in discussions about the latest updates. Xiao overheard the fervent talks, feeling uneasy as he discerned that they were discussing him behind his back. It emerged that he had ascended to the top 10 players, sparking jealousy among many who suspected him of using cheats due to login issues the previous day. Soon, his friend, with whom he shared the prior experience, arrived, her demeanor serious as usual, uncertain of what the day held. Greeted by a surprised friend, she garnered attention for her elevated level, surpassing not only her friend but also her friend's boyfriend. Envy swirled among those around her, recognizing her 6th-level advancement overnight. As her friends grew secretive, probing about her rapid progression and questioning if she accomplished it alone, she explained that she had forged new alliances to overcome the challenges. One disgruntled team member lamented her actions, fearing she had divulged their strategies to irrelevant players. She recounted the truth, revealing that by the 3rd round, the dragon would have exposed their tactics, leading to their swift demise in the previous encounter. However, thanks to the insights gained from the new players, she discovered a loophole to consistently defeat the dragon. The archer in their team, eyeing her with skepticism, sarcastically inquired about their repeated success, puzzled by their seemingly evolving strategies. However, she explained that the individual had indeed identified a vulnerability in the dragon, rendering their knowledge of the strategy ineffective against them. Despite her assertion, the others scoffed, doubting her ability to uncover such a weakness. One among them predicted that the widespread dissemination of this knowledge would prompt the game developers to swiftly rectify the issue. Her friends rallied to her defense, rebuking the scoffers for their disrespectful behavior towards her as a woman. A subordinate of their boss interjected, announcing the impending commencement of the ranking count. Acknowledging this, the boss remarked on the pressure the newly ascendant players would exert on those who had previously held top positions. She regarded them disdainfully, perplexed by their interactions. Expressing frustration, a muscular player lamented the potential loss of opportunities if they continued down their current path. However, her friend divulged a secret. An officially sanctioned grand prize awaited at level. Her boyfriend reacted with indignation, questioning the need to discuss it. She defended herself, asserting that it was merely shared in confidence with her friend. Suddenly, a door materialized before them, signaling the approach of something significant and ominous. Urging her to accompany her into the desert in search of the great man, she led the way. Throughout the night, he persistently tried to persuade her, highlighting the benefits she would gain by joining his faction. Meanwhile, her boyfriend attempted to coax her into joining their expedition, but she declined. Undeterred, the others laughed and set out on their own, unfazed by the fact that many players boasted higher levels than them. Despite their confidence, the weary young man observed them with a tired gaze, questioning how such an intelligent girl became entangled with this unruly group. Eavesdropping on their conversation about the 18th level, he puzzled over why the Lord of Hell's book made no mention of it. Reflecting on how poorly the group of ruffians had treated him, he vowed never to forgive them and resolved that the time for retribution had come. Meanwhile, a conflicting entity within him questioned why he was veering in a different direction. Wasn't revenge against those who had wronged him in the past his primary objective? Another entity within him merely observed, closely monitoring the unfolding events. Arriving at a building resembling a blacksmith's workshop, he sought answers to his questions. Inside, he encountered a master blacksmith boasting an array of armor, resources, and sundries. Expressing his need for a set of armor for an imminent battle, he inquired about purchasing one. The blacksmith presented a silver breastplate crafted from dark phosphorus, along with its price. Advising him to purchase the product and then enhance it with materials, she explained that he would need to procure these materials himself as she only sold finished goods. Displaying his amassed resources, he asked if they were sufficient. His abundant wealth of materials dwarfed him, portraying a stark contrast to his appearance as a humble individual. The blacksmith was astonished, her demeanor visibly affected as she offered herself in exchange for these materials. He also presented a sword in need of improvement, noting her apparent emotional struggles. Impressed by his discerning eye, the blacksmith regarded him as her most remarkable customer, witnessing the forging of high-quality equipment uncommon in a beginner's village. Despite her attempts to form a connection, his singular focus remained on becoming the ultimate warrior, with little regard for romantic pursuits. Bestowing upon him a mysterious armor, she revealed its unique ability, the power to independently enhance items without requiring a trip to the forge. This rare item had been prepared specifically for such an occasion. Upon inquiring if it was complimentary, she confirmed that it was indeed free, emphasizing its rarity within the game. Departing from the forge, he hummed with joy, laughing to himself about his extraordinary stroke of luck. Meanwhile, in the forge, special doors opened immediately after his departure. It transpired that she had direct communication with the Lord, faithfully executing his commands to the letter. Acting upon the instructions of a maid who communicated with the girl, she carried out her tasks diligently. Kneeling down, she vowed to keep this secret guarded closely. She disclosed that the mysterious and extraordinary artifact, personally crafted by the Lord of Hell, was not originally part of the game. She cryptically mentioned that the Lord had his own plans, indicating that she was unworthy of such knowledge. Examining his newfound accessory, he failed to grasp its full significance but was elated by his good fortune in possessing such an artifact. As he gazed at the bracelet, unbeknownst to him, he exerted control over a girl who felt uneasy when touched by the bracelet. Suddenly, he was struck by lightning, the powerful blow catching him off guard. Bewildered by the unexpected strike, he struggled to comprehend its cause. Xiao encountered his girlfriend, who had just entered the game and immediately sought out her beloved. Expressing her prolonged search for him, she was unaware of his presence until now. He explained his decision to not remain inactive for too long and to return to the network soon. She confessed that she had nearly missed his message last time, nearly resulting in dire consequences. Now, she diligently reads every message and envisions him sending her a message every night before bed. Urging him to wait and inquire about their destination, she expressed concern about the need to protect something once more. However, he insisted that their priority was to rescue a person, emphasizing its significance over safeguarding an object. Meanwhile, the group found themselves fleeing from a dense cloud of dust, their energy rapidly depleting. Exhausted and desperate for respite, some suggested resting, but the urgency to reach the great desert propelled them forward. Hesitation would cost them dearly. The Earth Illuminati materialized before them, demanding obedience and offering to share his mana, boasting of his unparalleled magical prowess. While seasoned players rode mounts and looked down on others, ridiculing them as reckless, the less experienced players found solace in unity and kindness. Amidst this, some players succumbed to despair, while others extended support, acknowledging the inherent kindness of beginners. Suddenly, a fierce wind swept through, catching everyone off guard, even dislodging wigs bought by some players. Even the mounted players were stunned, their mounts halting and bowing their heads in submission. The wizards too were taken aback, confronted by a sight they had never witnessed before. Above them soared a colossal whale, its massive wings causing havoc as it traversed the sky. Those below trembled in fear, aware of the potential devastation wrought by a single beat of its wings, praying it wouldn't be directed at them. Amidst the chaos, a girl with a loudspeaker advertised the services of the Hell Rental Company, offering scenic tours covering vast distances for a hefty fee. Meanwhile, our group leisurely conversed, basking in the sun without a sense of urgency. Their unwavering belief in victory overshadowed any doubts, as they rested and prepared for the impending battle. However, other players grew agitated, realizing that those using land transportation would struggle to reach their destination on time. As they neared the Torn Tongue Prison's early location, the atmosphere grew increasingly ominous, with thick clouds obscuring the sunlight. Concern arose about navigation, as visibility was poor and the road barely discernible. Advising against haste, he advocated for patience and optimism, hoping for a favorable outcome. In truth, he harbored ulterior motives, desiring to make advances, but she deftly rebuffed his advances, deeming it an inappropriate moment. She surmised that the bandits planned to exploit Lin's power to control the Yellow Spring Worm. Seeking information about the skull's whereabouts, his girlfriend pressed for answers, but he urged her to focus on resting and recuperating. Drawing closer to him to eavesdrop, their proximity inadvertently presented them as a couple. Aware of the surveillance by the black and white girls, he refrained from divulging all secrets to his girlfriend, causing her to feel slighted. She recognized his knack for devising effective strategies and minimizing risks for maximum gains. Recalling his past triumphs over formidable monsters through courage, strength, and strategy, she admired his capabilities. Feeling a sense of safety in his presence, she couldn't deny the stirrings of affection beyond friendship. Blushing suddenly, she puzzled over her feelings, while he remained focused on strategy, oblivious to her turmoil. Xiao was eager to examine the bracelet he wore, still puzzled by its origin and selection. It seemed like sheer luck that he was chosen to wear such a unique item. In a sudden outburst, he exclaimed that the worm had appeared, yet he himself struggled to comprehend the situation. She casually draped one leg over him, causing him to feel flustered by her alluring curves. Despite his desire to steal glances, he maintained focus on his task, concealing his inner turmoil. Pretending to be asleep, she emitted soft moans, lost in pleasant dreams of being with him. He roused her from her slumber, informing her of the worm's appearance. The yellow spring ma typically lurked underground, emerging to the surface in search of sustenance, causing tremors wherever it roamed. Observing its formidable size, they shared a moment of embarrassment, silently acknowledging its potency. She recognized the folly of her words, realizing they couldn't be retracted. Meanwhile, he deciphered her cryptic hints. Meanwhile, assailants emerged, ignorant of the intricacies and dangers known to Xiao. Armed with wood-element weapons, they attacked, presuming the earth to be the Yellow Spring Worm's domain. However, they erred in their assumption. The Yellow Spring Worm did not belong to the earth element. Associating with the term Yellow Spring, she deduced its elemental affinity to be water. Pleased with her deduction, she queried if she was a genius, to which he tactfully agreed to avoid upsetting her, despite inwardly doubting her intellect. Convinced that fire element weapons would be effective, she confidently made her assertion, unaware of her own ignorance. Despite her error, he briefly considered her suggestion, acknowledging that while fire against water was ineffective, it posed no hindrance against the gold element. She had deliberately kept the sword of flame for this crucial moment, anticipating its potential usefulness. Acknowledging the logic in her words, he assured her that he would dispatch the foe swiftly, leaving her little time for contemplation. Within his bracelets, a silent argument ensued, one remaining composed while the other grew increasingly agitated, both puzzled by her actions within the young boy's body. Fully prepared, he grasped the fire sword, bracing himself for the most intense battle of his life. With incredible speed, he surged towards the worm, paying no heed to anyone in his path. Many present implored him not to employ firearms, as it would only empower the adversary further. Disregarding their advice, He asserted his understanding of the game's elemental dynamics, confident in his own knowledge. He expounded on his theory, suggesting that the worm's name implied an affinity with water, making it susceptible to water element attacks. Witnessing his feats, onlookers marveled at the miraculous display before their eyes. Even he felt overwhelmed as a colossal wave emanated from the beast, accompanied by a surge of energy. Its formidable fangs seemed capable of piercing anything, and a mysterious portal beckoned from within its gaping maw. Confusion reigned as spectators hesitated to engage, captivated by the spectacle unfolding before them. Their hesitation signaled the impending arrival of other players, eager to seize victory before him. Sensing the imminent danger, the maidens within him understood that his current strength was insufficient to withstand the worm's onslaught. Despite acknowledging his slim chances of victory, he refused to stand idly by while they faced certain demise, determined to defy the odds and emerge victorious. The gravity of the situation became clear as one of the maidens warned that if Xiao perished, he would be disconnected from the game, rendering their efforts futile. Astonishingly, with a mere gesture, he halted the worm's advance with astonishing force, his hands moving seemingly of their own accord, defying belief. His hands appeared to manifest two portals, each under his control, one cradling a maiden in each hand. No earthly being possessed the level of power he demonstrated. Though the maidens stood beside him invisibly, they orchestrated his every move, indicating that it was not he who controlled himself, but rather the inner entities within him. Each strike surpassed the last in strength, imbuing him with a surge of power previously unknown to him. The sheer energy coursing through his hands and body would overwhelm a normal individual. He unleashed his assault with unmatched aggression, determined to prove his worth by vanquishing the weakened worm. The worm sought to ensnare him in its coils, aiming to suffocate him under its massive bulk. Caught off guard by this development, Xiao grappled with doubt, uncertain whether the maidens who aided him before would come to his aid now. However, his courageous friend, undeterred by fear, pledged unwavering support, ready to confront any challenge for his sake. Gasping for air, Xiao felt the worm's vice-like grip tightening around him, crushing his spirit and fracturing his bones, while also squeezing the maidens within him. As despair loomed, it seemed there was no escape for them, condemned to perish in that moment. Yet, suddenly, a massive purple sphere materialized nearby, its brilliance blinding the worm and immobilizing it, halting its advance. Simultaneously, a fiery sphere emerged, inflicting significant damage to the worm's health, forcing it back and weakening its grip, even as it struggled to comprehend what had transpired. In that critical moment, his teammates rallied to cover him, but he needed to find a way to free himself. They possessed the means to liberate him, their task clear: prevent the boy from meeting his demise. His girlfriend, too, played a pivotal role in aiding him. Just then, his girlfriend arrived, the very reason he embarked on this mission, to rescue her. Resolutely, they resolved to sever the worm's head, their determination palpable. Yet, it was evident that they harbored ulterior motives, intending to betray the girl. She caught wind of their intentions. Their reunion was long awaited and profoundly touching for both girls. Meanwhile, the worm unleashed more spheres, sapping his health and thwarting attempts to subdue it. With a single breath, the worm repelled those attempting to sever its head, its immense power rendering any physical confrontation futile. Lin shielded her friend, recognizing her as one of the most cherished individuals in her life, someone she could entrust with everything and upon whom she relied. Their commander-in-chief admonished them, imploring her friend to fulfill their mission, lest they face repercussions from their superior. Meanwhile, other players were incapacitated, taken out of the game. Despite the combined efforts of numerous players, the monster boasted an overwhelming number of health points, proving resistant to their attacks. Faced with the realization of their waning advantage, they resorted to strategy, understanding that while the yellow spring worm remained formidable, timing would be crucial in securing victory. The worm mercilessly dispatched every individual, its massive form twisting and contorting them in its grasp. Overpowering more than 100 players, The worm's formidable health seemed insurmountable. At that opportune moment, as the worm shifted its focus to other players, loosening its grip, our steadfast boy found salvation through this diversion. The worm completely ignored him, allowing the boy to exit calmly. The group was bewildered. They had already buried the individual, yet he emerged from the worm's grasp unperturbed, demonstrating the possibility of overcoming it. These comprised the elite 5 players of Tongue Punch Prison, functioning as a cohesive unit. Each member of their team possessed unwavering determination, vital for the arduous battle ahead, as much was at stake. Among them was a young woman, distinguished by her flowing hair and resplendent crimson attire, adorned with a ruby pendant. Kaya, their leader, wielded the mightiest weapon and exuded an air of confidence, as if dispatching the worm would pose no challenge. She instructed her comrades to keep their distance, wary of inadvertently becoming targets of her formidable thunder abilities. Many players voiced discontent at her spellcasting proximity to the worm, concerned for their safety. However, one of her companions dismissed their concerns, prioritizing personal objectives over the well-being of fellow players. These ordinary players harbored hostility towards him, resenting his disregard for their companions. They appeared inexperienced, and their friend, urging the boy to flee, highlighted their vulnerability. Lin boldly stepped forward, surprising Hao with her determination to rescue the imperiled individual. Unbeknownst to her, her companions harbored ulterior motives concerning her friend. He approached his girlfriend with a knife, declaring his intent to eliminate her friend. As she lay dying, her thoughts were consumed by the betrayal of someone close to her. Ultimately, he callously remarked that one less obstacle stood in his way. His friend revealed that initially, he expressed a desire to toy with her before ending her life. However, he shifted his focus upon realizing the value of her resources over her. In truth, he targeted his ex-girlfriend's best friend because of her experience and utility for his schemes, unlike his current girlfriend. At that critical moment, her newfound friend teetered on the brink of death at the worm's mercy, with only she capable of aiding her. With scant seconds remaining before impending demise, she relinquished hope for a miraculous escape. Yet, the courageous boy intervened, questioning her reckless dash into the lightning's path, ultimately saving her. Bewildered, she feared for his safety amid the onslaught of meteorites and lightning. Lena queried their sudden appearance and their synchronized arrival with hers. However, they urged her to face the imminent threat as 2 assailants ambushed her from behind. Despite sensing a hint of danger, she was caught off guard, sealing her fate. Yet, a valiant boy defended her, denouncing the attackers as hypocrites disguised as friends. With his formidable power, he swiftly dispatched them, each falling to a different hue of his radiant beams. His team, bewildered by his intervention, questioned his identity and motives as he dispatched the assailants effortlessly. He declared that they couldn't dismiss him so easily, compelling them to acknowledge him anew. Their recognition dawned as they realized he was the same boy they had once betrayed and killed for his resources. Now ascendant as one of the most potent players, he returned to exact vengeance and assert his dominance, showcasing his strength and magnificence. He mercilessly vanquished every member of their team, mirroring the treatment they once inflicted upon him. Despite their pleas for clemency and promises of reform, he remained resolute, delivering the final blow with a kick that sent one of them into convulsions. His actions were not just retribution for himself, but also for his friend, who suffered at their hands, her life traded for mere possessions. He clarified that he only sought recompense for her belongings, sparing their lives but warning that any future encounter would result in their demise. Stripped of their belongings and dignity, they fled, just as swiftly as he once did upon encountering them. Thus, justice prevailed, as karma caught up with these players, consumed by the very worm they once used as a tool. The worm's demise was imminent, unforeseen by those who had underestimated the unity of the top 5 players. While his girlfriend viewed them as allies, he asserted they had no reason to be competitors. Their synergy was evident, with coordinated attacks and mana support ensuring their effectiveness. The archer targeted the worm's mouth, diverting its attention, while others dealt devastating blows. Facing unprecedented damage, the worm's health dwindled, its defeat within grasp. Yet, caution prevailed as they strategized for the final strike, wary of the worm's retaliation. His demeanor warned against approaching him, hinting at his readiness to strike down any who dared. Despite the imbalance, the boy positioned himself strategically, preparing for the decisive blow. From his vantage point, he readied himself to deliver the fatal strike against the weakened worm. With a mighty swing of his hammer, the guy unleashed torrents of lightning that crackled across the floor. Attempts by the girls to approach him were met with forceful repulsion, inflicting damage upon them. Unbeknownst to the players, our boy steadily closed the gap towards his coveted objective, slipping from their notice. Seizing a fiery arrow, she vowed to inflict significant harm upon him, enhancing their potency tenfold. Despite her barrage, he deftly evaded the arrows, leveraging his agility and speed to dodge. Yet one arrow found its mark, causing him intense discomfort as his health depleted by a quarter. Undeterred, he pressed on, refusing to succumb to the setback. Observing his diminished health, his companions realized his slim chances of reaching the worm. Despite their concern, they were at a loss for how to assist him. The distance remained insurmountable. He couldn't bridge the gap. Despite sounding presumptuous, the opinion of the beautiful lady with enchanting eyes proved futile. She persisted in targeting both the worm and the boy, seeking to neutralize them. However, his former girlfriend intervened, determined to repay the debt of gratitude he once extended to her. Stunned, he acknowledged her timely arrival, grateful for her intervention. Directed by one of their leaders, he focused on subduing the girl and the guy, while the others moved to eliminate the worm. From their team to the top 5 players in the world, all sought to vanquish this formidable foe. With her strength waning and her final breath, his girlfriend bravely assisted him in fending off their adversaries. Opting for the formidable Azure Dragon armor, he activated its protective golden light and wielded the Thunder Blade with lethal intent. The top-ranked players were astounded by his newfound invincibility, yet remained unaware of his full potential. As the worm teetered on the brink of defeat, the race to deliver the final blow commenced, with experience and treasures awaiting the victors. However, a voice from below admonished Xiao against monopolizing the spoils, reminding him of their collective efforts in weakening the worm. Undeterred, our boy closed in on the monstrous creature, mere moments away from claiming his prize. With decisive strikes, he sealed the fate of the worm, bringing an end to its reign of terror. Onlookers marveled at the triumph of a lone player against the top warriors of the server and the seemingly invincible worm. Exhausted and drained, he collapsed in sheer fatigue after his monumental feat. As the worm vanished, its life extinguished, a chapter closed in the virtual realm. His level surged from 17 to 19, rewarded with praise for slaying the worm and bestowed with a demon blade and war drum. His girlfriend's level ascended from 14 to 17 in recognition of her contribution. The friend who intervened at the critical juncture saw a promotion from level 13 to. The top team seethed with resentment, their efforts to defeat the monster overshadowed by the unexpected triumph of another player. Shock and disbelief permeated the scene as they grappled with the reality of their defeat, having invested their best efforts and resources only to witness another claim the glory. Subsequently, the woman draped in scarlet became incensed with a man who, prior to this incident, she had rescued, only to find him pilfering resources from her. Additionally, the man residing adjacent displayed considerable indignation. His behavior proved a source of embarrassment to his comrades, leaving them uncertain of their ability to overcome him. Our protagonist expressed regret for his actions, explaining that he felt compelled to progress to the next stage, and the rewards were insufficient to share among all. He offered to relinquish his share to them. However, the wisest among them declined, asserting that they had no need for it, and they still had 2 days before the culmination of their endeavors. Whether they vanquished the threat or not, their outcome remained unchanged. Furthermore, they acknowledged that even so, they would not secure a position within the top 5, believing they did not merit it. Yet, the woman in crimson continued to regard him with a mysterious gaze, recognizing his exceptional courage and valor. He found it surprising that they showed little interest in such desirable rewards, attributing it to their inflated egos. Amidst joyful countenance and wide eyes, she enthusiastically embraced our protagonist, expressing her elation at their victory and anticipation for their return home. Nonetheless, his mind dwelled on other matters. He recognized the substantial improvement in his team's abilities, realizing their chance to ascend to the ranks of the top 5 and become legends. The top contenders labored tirelessly, systematically defeating all adversaries to attain their desired levels. Their prowess was unmatched, leaving none capable of impeding their progress. Meanwhile, a girl from another dimension massaged our fighter's ears, aiding in his relaxation. His companions were puzzled by his relaxed demeanor during such a crucial juncture for their team. While everyone else sought means to gain experience, he seemed preoccupied with relaxation. Nevertheless, he remained unperturbed, harboring a meticulously crafted plan in his mind to outmaneuver their adversaries. Aware that the mastermind behind the challenges might suspect his awareness of certain details, he resolved to navigate through the obstacles discreetly, concealing his insights. The members of the Cool Five were taken aback upon discovering him receiving a foot massage, as they had dispatched their agent to monitor his activities. Moreover, one of their comrades was dismayed by his inability to divert his attention to procure warm clothing. These individuals seemed to relish life's comforts. Nonetheless, the wisest among them remarked on his diligence, suggesting he likely had a plan of his own. They could focus on enhancing the capabilities of their female teammate while he vied for a position in the top 5. However, the leadership dynamics within their team remained unresolved, as none were willing to surpass him. It was deemed appropriate for him to claim the top spot in the Torn Tongue prison. Consequently, discord brewed within the team as they debated who should lead the charge to defeat their rivals. The female members aspired for their team to secure the leading position, while the male members staunchly supported their leader, leading to frequent disagreements. Positioned at the entrance of the newcomers' village hotel was a fox. There, they rested and replenished their energies, knowing that the next battle loomed ahead, necessitating their full recuperation. The Torn Tongue prison boasted the fastest accumulation of experience points in the world. Initially, the girls dismissed the fox as a non-player character, doubting its potential for yielding experience points. However, the boy hinted at a deeper purpose. He claimed that the player was applying to undertake the Will of Steel side quest. Despite appearing as a beautiful fiery girl, the fox maintained the guise of a small, inconspicuous, yet exquisite fluffy creature. In reality, it was a form that no one would typically take notice of. The fox requested them to recite the activation keyword and accept the quest. The player's task was to locate the key, with the consequence of a half-level reduction for any incorrect guesses. Sensing the risks involved, the girls attempted to dissuade him, highlighting the slim chance of success and the potential loss of any opportunity altogether. Despite acknowledging the risks, he embraced the quest as his only viable option, driven by the urgency of his circumstances. His decision astonished the remaining girls, who had not realized his propensity for risk-taking and gambling. The key was discovered near the fox girl's leg, and the boy eagerly seized the opportunity. The other girls couldn't help but feel a twinge of jealousy towards him, as he was the sole male member of their team and held in high regard by all. Offering congratulations, the fox girl commended their success in completing the quest, eliciting happiness among the group. She then opened a portal for them, bidding them a safe journey. They wasted no time in entering the portal, propelled by the need for speed, confidence, and resilience. Together, they embarked on a journey into an unfamiliar and enigmatic world, each feeling a heightened sense of fear. In this dimension, weapons were rendered useless, leaving them reliant solely on their physical abilities to overcome the challenges. Despite the unexpected turn of events, the girls looked stunning in their swimsuits at the beach location. Additionally, his first girlfriend exuded beauty, her delightful blue hue perfectly complementing her eyes. Finding themselves alone on a raft, surrounded by numerous fish, they realized they needed to catch them for sustenance. However, the fish proved elusive, evading their attempts and causing frustration. Advised by a fellow fisherman kid to remain calm and use their hands, they persisted in their efforts. Suddenly, his demeanor shifted as he sensed an impending danger. Above them, a goddess loomed, her ethereal form shrouded in smoke, captivating them with her presence. He glanced at his companion, noticing a similar ethereal quality, as she too emitted a gentle wisp of smoke, her mouth poised to speak. Adding to the allure was his dear friend Hao, whose beauty was matched only by the perfect coordination of her top with her eyes. Reveling in the moment, he realized this quest was unparalleled, granting him the privilege of seeing all his girlfriends adorned in swimsuits. Having successfully navigated the speed test, they braced themselves for the next challenge. Taking refuge in a cavern, the girls stood back while our intrepid protagonists surveyed their surroundings, plotting their course forward. The impending stage promised to test their ability to collaborate, leaving them uncertain of what lay ahead. Contemplating the restrictions on tools, our valiant fighter pondered whether their hands could suffice. Frustration mounted as he relentlessly pursued the elusive fish, unable to resort to any tools. Pondering the nature of the test of mutual understanding, the naive Xiao questioned whether it required cooperation between two individuals. She requested her companion to stand before her, puzzled by his intentions. Determined to overcome the challenge, they resolved to press the fish against their chests, leveraging their strength and determination. Through their combined efforts, they managed to crush the fish, achieving success through unity. Their triumph affirmed their strength and courage, validating their pursuit. Witnessing their collaboration, he was deeply moved, feeling as though he had stumbled upon a slice of heaven. Encouraging others to explore alternative approaches, they emphasized the versatility of the human body beyond just the hands. The guys, feeling a sense of embarrassment, realized they too would need to collaborate to conquer the challenge. Despite their reluctance to emulate the girls' approach, they followed suit, clutching the fish to their chests in unison. When confronted by his jealous girlfriend, he defended himself, claiming he was inherently decent and wouldn't resort to such actions unless absolutely necessary. The resolution to this issue lies solely in their cautious embrace of each other. Advised to confront her anger, she became irate upon witnessing similar behavior from him towards another. Enraged, she vented her frustration by kicking the fish with such force that they perished instantly. Yao, despite her protests, hesitated to engage in the activity with her. The other girls were bewildered by the situation, lacking comprehension of their actions or purpose there. The boy was left bewildered and severely hurt by her actions, unable to grasp their motive. She asserted that they were meant to be together, dismissing any debate since she was initially paired with him. The girls collectively agreed to be a couple, striving for equality. The girls resolved to unite as a couple, aiming for parity. Meanwhile, the trailing players were astonished by the sudden disappearance of our protagonists from the radar. Suddenly, a massive creature emerged, knocking a sword from one of the men's grasp. The girls urged him to maintain focus, warning that any distraction could prove fatal against even the weakest monster. Transitioning from level 20 to 21, a striking girl with red attire and blonde hair accelerated her progress through sheer concentration and determination, radiating beauty and grace. As they scrutinized the rankings, the lists fluctuated. Our protagonists continued to plummet while the leading team ascended, leaving everyone skeptical of their ability to catch up. According to comments, observers noted a gradual advancement of your team, progressing 2 levels higher. The girls adjacent to the shouting were uncomfortable with the cave's atmosphere. Despite this, Xiao recognized his role as the group's bravest member, feeling obligated to venture further and discern what needed to be done. Amidst this, one of the girls inquired about Xiao Hao's affections, prompting a denial from him. He couldn't fathom how such a notion arose. She assured her friend not to worry, admitting Hao's fondness for her and pledging assistance in winning his affection. Suddenly, a mysterious sound echoed from behind, piquing the girl's curiosity. A monstrous, venomous spider launched an attack on a red-haired girl, horrifying everyone as it consumed her face. Xiao, alerted by the sound, braced himself for what lay ahead. A gargantuan spider with an ominous maw loomed directly over Xiao, poised to devour him. Surveying his friends, Xiao witnessed each girl ensnared by venomous spiders, rendering them unconscious. Struggling with how to aid his friends, Xiao desperately wished to prevent their demise. Consumed by concern for his companions, Xiao refused to lose them, considering them akin to family. A swarm of spiders assailed him, intent on consuming him, yet he deftly parried every attack. Despite his skill, the largest spider persisted, aiming to immobilize him with its venomous bite. Undeterred by the threat, Xiao dispatched each spider with ease, drawing upon his dexterity, resourcefulness, and courage. However, a colossal spider approached, threatening to ensnare him within its gaping jaws, stirring deep anxiety within Xiao. He began to struggle as purple smoke emitted from the spider, inducing hallucinogenic panic. Overwhelmed and disoriented, he fought to keep his eyes open, succumbing to an overwhelming desire to sleep. He found himself in an unfamiliar realm, bathed in purple hues amidst swirling white circles, utterly bewildered by his surroundings. As he grappled with confusion, one of the girls approached him, a comrade with whom he had fought many battles, seeking something more intimate. Embarrassment washed over him as she expressed her desire for him to stay and engage in lovemaking. Amidst this proposition, a red-haired girl, who had saved his life multiple times, surprised him with a kiss on the ear, demonstrating her unwavering devotion. His attention shifted as he noticed the bra straps of the girl loosening, revealing another layer underneath. They shared a kiss, treating him with reverence akin to a king, casting themselves as his loyal subjects. Abruptly, he was pushed away by an inexplicable force, bewildered by the interruption. It was Hao seeking closeness with him, even if only in his dreams. The three girls, resembling maids from his dreams, offered themselves to him, granting him any desire. Recognizing the dreamlike quality of the situation, he resisted losing himself and remembered his true location. They found themselves back in the cave, each having experienced a hallucinogenic dream, each filled with its own peculiar events. Before them stood a figure resembling a mother spider, a humanoid creature with spider-like features, reminiscent of a fox. He urged her to retreat and rush to his friend's aid, determined to prevent them from succumbing to madness or death. However, she had other intentions, unwilling to let them depart so easily. The boy narrowly avoided falling into the illusion, fortunate to break free from its grasp. He was praised for overcoming the test of illusion, demonstrating his iron will. Attempting to rouse his girlfriend proved challenging, as she was deeply entrenched in slumber, unresponsive to his pleas. However, when he recounted the encounter with the monstrous spider, she reacted instinctively, striking him in the nose with considerable force, causing it to bleed. Despite her apology, he assured her it was fine, dismissing any harm caused by the blow. Their potential for growth now hinged on the accumulation of experience, a prospect that enthralled them. Meanwhile, in the newcomers' village, debates raged over the outcome of the impending confrontation and the contenders vying for dominance. The revelation that our protagonists occupied the top 4 positions on the scoreboard left everyone astounded. Their significant lead signaled Chao's team's readiness to challenge the tongue-pulling prison boss, prompting his personal visit to congratulate them. The boss, eager for the confrontation, turned out to be the level 25 tongue-pulling prison king. Despite slipping from the top rankings, our protagonists persisted in training, spurred on by their indomitable spirit. While others surpassed them in rankings, they remained unwavering in their dedication. Engaging in battles against wolves, they amassed valuable experience, albeit not at the same pace as their peers. Suddenly, a wolf attacked from behind, nearly devouring the boy's head in its jaws. A timely shot from an unknown assailant repelled the wolf, saving the boy's life from certain demise. Bewildered, he turned to find his savior, astonished by the intervention that spared him from the perilous encounter. It transpired that the girls, who had been observing him continuously, approached to deliver the news that Wang's condition had worsened significantly today due to stress. She informed him that, given his 5th-place ranking, he could challenge the prison boss. He would be transported to the arena within a minute, thereby enabling him to progress to the next level. However, he expressed dissatisfaction with this grim prospect. He implored her to thwart the advancement of those 4 individuals to 1st place and beyond, emphasizing that everything rested in her hands, and then she departed to defend the pride and honor of her team, the top 5, which included, yes, herself, disappearing from her companions in an instant. They didn't even have a chance to bid her farewell. Meanwhile, all the companions stood atop a vast hill where blue-green lightning continuously struck, captivating them with its flashes. Our companions were prepared to confront the very boss who had challenged them to battle, uncertain of what to anticipate from him. Soon, they noticed another girl from the opposing team approaching them, uncertain of their feelings towards her due to a recent disagreement. She wasn't enthusiastic about collaborating with these companions, but she had no alternative. Chao informed her that she was the sole magician in their midst, and in case of any eventuality, they would require her maximum assistance. He extended his hand for a handshake, expressing hope for fruitful cooperation, given their less than ideal circumstances. Meanwhile, those same 2 girls remained within him. He even stumbled upon a side quest that no one had yet undertaken and completed it. They would encounter difficulties if they attempted to apprehend him. The other one advised her against haste, emphasizing the importance of Chao refraining from causing unnecessary complications at present. Throughout, the boy overheard their conversations, allowing him to anticipate potential developments and understand what each of them needed to prepare for. The girls agreed to await the conclusion of his battle with the boss before deciding on their next course of action regarding him. Meanwhile, an aide informed the boss that 5 individuals had arrived to confront him. He was fully prepared to face them. Indicating he had no need to rush, the boss mentioned he would arrive shortly. His attendant urged him to hasten. Threatening to turn his attendant into dumplings if pushed further, the boss displayed a sudden change in demeanor upon the arrival of another figure, becoming obedient without protest. Despite appearing as his servant, the newcomer's presence elicited a reaction that rendered the boss compliant, suppressing any dissent. Amidst discussions about the eerie screams echoing around them, the astute girl in red pointed out that such occurrences were expected on the tower's top level, where all players from lower levels converged. With only the top 5 players each month granted the privilege to challenge the boss directly, all other players had the opportunity to progress through the 9 levels of the ghost towers. Initially, traversing these levels was straightforward, but as more players advanced, the difficulty increased, possibly due to developers ramping up the challenge to limit player progression. Perplexed, the monster wondered why the Lord approached, unable to fathom his unexpected presence. Inquiring about the allocation of people, the Chief Lord confirmed they had been assigned roles. He erected towers to impede ordinary individuals' movement, reserving a path for the top 5 players of the month. However, the Emperor declared a change in plans, insisting that no players should advance this time. He mandated the elimination of all players, with the Emperor overseeing the battle to ensure none made it through. The Emperor made it clear to the King of Hell that he wasn't compliant and had numerous methods to enforce obedience. Expressing his understanding of His Majesty's wisdom, he pledged absolute obedience to any command. He assured that his loyalty would bring greatness, promising future rewards that would vastly improve his life. As time elapsed, some had to leave the game for real-life obligations after 20 minutes. Upon returning, he apologized for the delay, assuring them it wouldn't last much longer. The girls were quick to notice his repulsive appearance and disgusting demeanor, recoiling from his vile voice. Recoiling from his repulsiveness, one girl's mood soured, prompting her to open fire. Unfazed by the onslaught, he calmly consumed an apple, finding amusement rather than harm in their attacks. Despite her efforts, she barely made a dent in him, only eliciting mocking amusement. Despite the Night King's seemingly low defense, conventional attacks proved futile, pondered the cleverest girl among them. With his meal finished, the boss commenced his ruthless onslaught, showing no mercy to any player. Dealing a devastating blow to the first girl who attacked, she found herself unprepared and weakened. Succumbing to subsequent precise and rapid damage, she was left immobilized. Warning them of the poisonous damage from his elephant, the boy urged immediate assistance in attacking. Despite his initial attack, he swiftly dodged their counterattack, evading significant harm. The girls puzzled over what made him the most formidable among prison bosses, finding him not much different from the rest. However, a mere jump from the boss created a shockwave, damaging everyone nearby and enveloping the area in a purple field. Though they sustained minor damage, the girls remained relatively unwearied, confident they could swiftly overcome it. Leaping to deliver the final blow and eject them, he bid them farewell midair. Yet, our valiant fighter intercepted his strikes with his sword, asserting they wouldn't be easily defeated, especially if their friends were targeted. He asserted that to harm his friends, the boss must first contend with him, a fighter of exceptional skill and knowledge. The boy realized the friend in the red dress wasn't truly supportive and understood their reliance on the magician, who dealt most of the damage. The monster acknowledged the boy's potential but insisted he stood no chance against him and would be swiftly vanquished. In a surprise move, he was struck in the face, bewildered by the unexpected blow. The same helpful friend assured him he wasn't alone in this fight, and that they must face them all to prevail. Activating her special skill, God's Blessing, she augmented damage and critical hit chance for 30 seconds, though it required 30,000 gold. The boss was taken aback that someone dared to disturb his meticulously styled hair, failing to grasp the uniqueness of their group. She scoffed at his hairstyle critique, suggesting he'd look better with a pumpkin for a head. Grateful to Meng for steadfast support in their moment of need, the boy's acknowledgement resonated with the ashamed friend in the red robe, who regretted her inaction. This presented a prime opportunity for them, as the blade was set to strike him at that precise moment, leaving him no chance to evade. Despite her earlier doubts, she now realized the Night King was an easily conquerable foe for them. Concerned that inaction would lead to missed opportunities, she resolved to act. The boss endured severe blows he never anticipated from seemingly ordinary individuals. Yet, they were extraordinary chosen ones striving for this moment. However, just as victory seemed within reach, the boy collapsed from exhaustion, needing a moment's respite from the relentless assault. Suddenly, his leg froze, confounding everyone as it transformed into ice. It transpired that his treacherous girlfriend intervened from behind, disrupting their plan to vanquish the boss, likely suspecting their imminent success. Mistaking her interference for affection, the boss offered her tea after dispatching their group. Despite her sabotage, they still had tricks up their sleeves to prove their worthiness in defeating him. Her constant interference hindered the entire team, aiding the boss in his defense. They realized he wasn't just fleeing to evade attacks but also to launch distant assaults, prompting the need to stun him. The monster boasted that even at his speed, they couldn't touch his hair. Unexpectedly, he felt a stab in his back, surprising them both. How had they managed it? It was his sister, utilizing her sneak attack skill at the opportune moment to neutralize the monster. Furious, with his health dwindling and not a single player eliminated, he faced the imminent failure of his given task. The boy recognized the potential danger of this skill and understood its necessity for victory in the battle. However, she was already preparing a lightning strike, intending to inflict unseen damage from behind. Caught off guard, she suffered a devastating blow from the lightning, enduring intense pain as the energy coursed through her. The attack exposed and disabled her stealth ability, leaving her vulnerable and unable to retaliate. Confounded by her constant disruptions, the other two friends decided to confront her together, but she anticipated their move and evaded skillfully. Concerned for her well-being, the boy inquired about her condition. She admitted feeling interrupted and unwell, expressing reluctance to continue the fight as her strength waned. Her incapacitation provided the monster a brief respite, knowing the onslaught would soon resume. However, he understood it was only a temporary reprieve. While acknowledging their strength as formidable opponents, the monster's sinister grin hinted at a lingering plan to annihilate them. Empowered by the Emperor with an item, his level surged threefold, transforming him into a formidable giant monster, exponentially harder to defeat. Our fighter recognized the enhancement, speculating it to be a muscle-building and power-enhancing substance, expressing a desire for such augmentation. Now significantly stronger, he vowed vengeance against those who wronged him when his level was lower. Despite the odds, Fighter Xiao persisted in his quest to vanquish the boss, determined to prove his worthiness to advance beyond this level. However, the monster struck at him without hesitation, realizing Xiao lacked the necessary resilience to withstand his assault. The girls, exhausted and unable to intervene, could only watch in distress as their friend endured the onslaught of the bloodthirsty monster. The boss ruthlessly punished anyone who dared cross his path, showing no mercy to those who had wronged him before, unleashing his fury with relentless force. He hurled them great distances, toying with them to prevent any chance of retaliation, ensuring they couldn't immobilize or exhaust him. The boy found himself powerless to stop the onslaught, cornered with his companions. Exhausted and depleted, their health barely allowed them to catch their breath, with nothing left to give. Asserting that the power he craved had finally manifested, he declared his intent to consume them all. Realizing the incongruity of an NPC making such statements, a previously disfavored friend recognized the gravity of the situation. Realizing only she could aid them now, she sought to atone for past transgressions. Despite her efforts to evade him, her allure made it difficult to escape his grasp. He relentlessly pursued her, intent on asserting his dominance as the strongest on the battlefield. Despite earlier promises of mercy, he resolved to turn her into a cake, treating her with the same severity as the others. Tears welled in her eyes as she realized her imminent fate, knowing she had little time left before he would devour her. Suddenly, his satisfaction turned to sadness as he sensed something amiss. His advance was halted by a determined boy, refusing to surrender. Prepared to fight for the last person on the platform, he embodied the spirit of a noble warrior, making no distinctions between allies and adversaries. The monster boss belatedly recognized the boy's indomitable spirit, but it was too late. The friend declared her intent to harm the boss, urging the others to buy her time as she plotted to pierce his defenses. Empowered by newfound strength, she resolved to aid her companions in their time of need, recognizing the urgency of buying time for their newfound ally. Threatening to end him with a mere finger, the monster failed to realize the boy's ploy to buy time for a decisive strike. Though nearly crushed, the boy clung to the last vestiges of health, allowing him to evade imminent death. Sensing an opportunity to reciprocate the boy's past assistance, his girlfriend resolved to aid him, embracing the chance to be useful. Transforming before their eyes as if ensconced in magic, she assumed a new form, leaving onlookers bewildered. Activating her exclusive skill, activation of 10,000 copies, she conjured 99 duplicates to assail a single target without diminishing their stats, while absorbing all damage dealt by the copies. The monster found himself besieged by numerous copies of the girl, realizing he must vanquish them to prevail. Engulfed in a relentless barrage of attacks from each copy, he struggled to defend himself. Overwhelmed from all sides, he frantically sought a reprieve from the onslaught, but found no respite despite his power. Striking back relentlessly, he attempted to fend off the assault, but the relentless barrage left him breathless. With each copy falling before her, only the original remained standing amidst the chaos. Pressing the attack, the monster's blows dwindled her health with each strike, diminishing her ability to concentrate. In a surprising turn, the troublesome girl who had plagued them chose to switch sides, aiding in the battle for good over evil. Threatening to dispatch her instantly, the monster hurled insults likening her to a powerless chicken, spawning many lichen chickens. Determined to ensure the boss's defeat, the remaining friend resolved to exhaust all resources, refusing to allow him any chance of victory in this non-lethal struggle. Channeling all her power, she unleashed a relentless assault on the boss, aiming to disrupt his focus at every turn. Threatening to cook her in meat sauce and consume her first, the boss pushed her to the brink of accepting her fate, as all her copies were destroyed and the effects of her skill began to wane. Accepting the inevitability of her demise, she found solace in the realization that she was experiencing the peak of her gaming life, despite the looming end. Meanwhile, the friend in red completed the upgrade of her weapon, poised to penetrate the monster's armor and assist her newfound team. Seizing the moment, our valiant fighter swiftly distanced himself from the girl, preparing to deliver a decisive blow. Timing his strike perfectly, he unleashed a devastating blow intended to bring an end to the confrontation. Dealing significant damage to the boss's health, he even managed to dislodge a piece from the monster's shoulder. Recognizing the boy as a formidable adversary, the monster prioritized eliminating him to end his interference. Our fighter also activated the Azure Dragon's active armor skill, invoking the formidable Golden Fire. Concealing additional techniques, the boy still had more tricks up his sleeve. Astonished by his mastery of the immaculate Golden Fire and his resolve in this desperate battle, the girl admired his skills and determination, recognizing it as an unprecedented combination. Witnesses on the battlefield marveled at his genius, acknowledging his unparalleled skill, patience, and bravery. With his next strike, he vanquished the boss without affording him the slightest chance of victory. Gazing down at his defeated foe, he recalled the boss's taunts throughout the fight, his victory now sweetened by vindication. Escaping with only minor injuries, she owed her survival to her friend, who had come to their aid multiple times throughout the ordeal. Each of them found themselves isolated on the battleground, where the intensity of the conflict drained their strength and frayed their nerves. Concurrently, the Lord of the Underworld announced that the top 5 players had descended to the second tier. Doubt crept into his mind once again as he realized the beast he dispatched to thwart the group had failed. His frustration grew palpable. Dissatisfied, he instructed his minions to focus their attention on the boy. The game extended its congratulations before transporting them to a secondary prison level, promising a less arduous challenge lay ahead. The lad discerned that each stage typically commenced with a village, while the girls conversed about their emotional states. Uncertain if a covert quest awaited completion in the village, they faced a formidable locked door. Bewildered by the absence of the NPC guide, they searched for direction. Kaya inquired about his well-being, receiving reassurance that all was in order. Laughter echoed, bewildering the group as they failed to locate its source. The laughter emanated from the cafe patrons, deriding them as weaklings brought to the prison by valorous warriors. Observing their arrival, he sighed, acknowledging their inability to match his strength. Inquiring about their means of escape, he found himself confronted by his own team, resolute in their defiance. The talking potato expressed astonishment, questioning if they hailed from the tongue-ripping realm. Delighted by their presence, he introduced himself as the custodian of the initial lands, known as the knower of all. The boy inquired if he could unlock the gate for them without complications. He affirmed his ability to do so but stipulated that they must leave behind a treasure as payment, in accordance with the rules. Determined, the boy stated his intent to search for something valuable among his belongings. Among his possessions was a mysterious purple sphere, yet its purpose eluded him. Suddenly, a spider girl emerged from the sphere, obedient to her master's commands. Astonished, he realized he possessed this creature all along, contemplating what he had done with her and why she was in his possession. Perplexed, he pondered the origins of the girl and his actions regarding her. The talking potato remarked on the adaptability of youth, urging the boy to proceed to the second level before receiving the underworld's favor. He requested the treasure in exchange for opening the gate. The girl shed a tear at the prospect of being handed over to the bandit, prompting him to promise an alternative. Despite his anger, he insisted that the boy hand over the girl as agreed. He warned that the situation could escalate if not handled properly. Challenging his role, the boy implored him to fulfill his duties as a guide rather than resorting to thievery. Expressing gratitude, the boy thanked him for his assistance and wished them luck. Xiao beseeched him for a task to progress further in the game, pledging to fulfill it without resistance. He tasked Xiao with taming the spider girl, who vehemently resisted the idea, leaving the boy conflicted. Despite her outward refusal, the girl secretly harbored no objections to being tamed, albeit not in front of others. Despite having a pet at his disposal, she urged him to assert his independence. Though he only disciplined her lightly, she formed a strong bond with him, leaving him puzzled by her attachment. He realized that different dark pets possessed unique personalities, prompting him to decipher her desires and temperament. However, his girlfriend's jealousy hindered his efforts to fully tame the pet, leading to frustration for all involved. The talking potato assured him of the spider girl's future utility, emphasizing her worth as a valuable asset. He suggested that they possess a component of the legendary flying phoenix crown, hinting at the potential to enhance their combat prowess by assembling the divine bird sets. Boasting of his omniscience, the potato claimed knowledge ranging from astronomy to intimate details like whether one had laundered their underpants. Expressing gratitude, they announced their intention to venture into the abyss, receiving well wishes for their journey. Despite his positive demeanor, the boy exuded an aura of impending death, signaling his imminent demise. Perplexed, the group failed to comprehend the significance of the Night King's cryptic remarks about his impending death. Kaya's curiosity about the game's secrets intensified, prompting the fighter to declare his readiness to disclose the truth. He revealed that the game was in reality a genuine hell, where every action determined one's fate, and survival rested solely in their hands. In a transformative moment, he felt as though he ascended to heaven, his bracelets glowing with different hues. Separated from his companions, he was approached by two girls eager for evidence and revelations about his secret. Advising him to speak freely before facing interrogation, they hinted at the gravity of their impending conversation. How did he acquire knowledge of all their secrets? Their bewilderment stemmed from not comprehending the wellspring of his abundant information. After all, he appeared to be an ordinary individual. Inquiring about their sender, he claimed that the Lord of Hell dispatched them for interrogation. Her indignation surged, urging him to cease his nonsensical claims and provide a lucid response. Yet, her companion discerned a disturbance behind her. Since entering the second-floor prison, he had been experiencing escalating debilitation, perplexed as to who orchestrated it. Pondering if they inflicted it upon him, before his imminent demise this night, the king cursed him with a malady of health depletion. Simultaneously, the curse exacted a toll on his health with each passing moment. The curse severely diminished his vitality, necessitating its removal lest his health deteriorate irreversibly. Alas, it was too late. Beseeched to awaken, he remained unresponsive. Fortunately, his demise enabled him to continue his work on the Scissor Prison Manual. Witnessing the violet enchantment, his gaze fell upon a cryogenic warrior clad in azure crystals. Subsequently, he observed a magus wreathed in purple, weaving his incantations, disregarding all else. He later beheld a wizard engrossed in experimentation, sporting a substantial orifice in his palm. Once more inhabiting the Lord's form, he found himself bound in an enigmatic locale. Perplexed by his circumstances, he questioned his reemergence in this corporeal vessel. Even if they fail to vanquish the Lord, the time has come for his permanent demise, ensuring he no longer poses a threat. Besieged from all directions, he endured the cruelest of curses, intent on breaking his spirit, yet he remained steadfast. Recognizing the Phantom Emperor's direct challenge to the Hell King, he discerned rebellion. Should he perish in this state, resurrection seemed improbable. Then his steadfast ally intervened, always ready to defend him, commanding them not to lay a hand on him. Swiftly, she severed the hand of one of the emperors, warning against further aggression. Enraged and utterly astonished, he retaliated, inflicting grievous harm upon her, slashing her back and leaving a gaping wound. The youth comprehended her unwavering loyalty, deeply regretting and feeling aggrieved by the mistreatment of his closest confidant. Evading capture proved challenging as he began to break free from his constraints, fueled by the realization of his capability. Observing his escape attempt, they endeavored to swiftly restrain him, fearing the repercussions of his liberation. Their paramount concern was to prevent him from divulging vital information, resorting to heightened blood sacrifices. Doubts arose among those restraining him, questioning their ability to contain his formidable power, strengthening their enchantments to thwart his escape. Yet his cunning plan outmatched theirs, foreseeing their actions. With no alternative, they resorted to a blood sacrifice, compelled to seal his confinement even at the cost of sacrificing a century of their lives. Failure to do so would result in all 4 of their deaths. Such was the magnitude of his overwhelming power. Agonizing pain coursed through his body, rendering him immobile, every muscle gripped by the torment. The long-awaited moment of their encounter arrived unexpectedly for the boy, fate offering no preparation for the meeting. The Lord revealed that the boy possessed the ability to infiltrate his corporeal form with his soul. Both present in this moment, they grappled with the incomprehensibility of their meeting, considering the impossibility mere moments before. The Lord's consciousness grappled with the present reality. It seemed natural that they met in this state, as he teetered on the brink of exhaustion. Any further disturbance would have been inconceivable. Questioning the motives behind the Phantom Emperor's desire to eliminate him, he surmised it stemmed from a desire to amass Yengu players, failing to recognize his authority as the Lord of Hell, expecting obedience from all. 3 years prior, he was merely the ghost emperor of the 10 held temples, with another emperor reigning above him, governing the Lord of Hell. Over the past century, Earth's extended lifespans led to a depletion of souls in Hell and a severe scarcity of spiritual energy, endangering the stability of the 18 levels of Hell. Recognizing his aptitude, the Emperor elevated him to the position of Lord of Hell and devised the game to harness energy. Realizing the need to overthrow the Emperors for their plan to succeed, the boy resolved to defeat them. In a remarkable coincidence, the character attributes the Lord assigned himself during the game's testing perfectly aligned with the boy's current character, an occurrence with an infinitesimal probability, yet it unfolded. Upon learning of the boy's scrutiny of his recordings, the Lord foresaw this possibility and dispatched his loyal attendants, Black and White, to monitor him, providing equipment for the stove to aid his understanding. Thus, his assistants covertly operated within the rings, vigilant and ready to assist if the need arose. Despite Vladimir's assistance and the aid of the devices, the boy asserted his capability to navigate the situation unaided, as it unfolded incessantly around him. Employing the Fendi technique, the ghost emperors of the 4 directions posed a formidable challenge, one the Lord couldn't evade, yet he endeavored to send the boy back in time, imploring him to safeguard the game's players worldwide. Perplexed by his role in protecting others as a mere player, the boy questioned his ability to intervene significantly in the game. However, the Lord bestowed upon him unparalleled strength, ensuring he could surmount any obstacle without diverting his attention from his mission. The Lord bestowed upon him his energy, unwaveringly, as though destined for him since birth. Finally, he imparted one crucial instruction. Upon his return, he must locate finishing, possessing a vital key. With this charge, he was thrust into the unknown, inheriting the Lord's potent energy, accumulated over time and uniquely his own. Bound by numerous demons, the Lord faced a relentless onslaught, their aim to siphon his energy and shatter him. Yet, amidst the turmoil, a protective demon emerged, granting him a surge of vitality, breathing new life into him. Empowered by the Lord's energy, the boy, in the guise of his benefactor, grappled with the overwhelming influx, uncertain of its optimal application. Onlookers marveled as he escaped the clutches of certain doom, surrounded by demons moments earlier. Betrayed by one he deemed trustworthy, his wrath burned fiercely, vowing never to forgive such treachery. The King of Hell's formidable strength rendered conventional barriers futile, his resolve unwavering from the outset. Ascending ever higher, he surveyed his surroundings, realizing his chosen status, both revered and feared by those below. Demons recognized his summoning of the underworld god to aid his servant girl, acknowledging the nobility of his action. Intent on capturing her for presumed knowledge, they underestimated her teleportation, evading their grasp. Advised to disregard the maid and swiftly subdue the king of hell, with the absence of the underworld god to aid them. The urgency to seal the king of hell overshadowed all other considerations, for the god of the underworld was yet to intervene. However, the Lord harbored a plan, unwilling to abandon the situation unresolved. Questioning the rationale behind sacrificing himself to thwart the god of the underworld's machinations, one of them voiced dissent. A magical demon proposed that once the king of hell was dealt with, they could deactivate the sinister game, leaving online players stranded, ripe for demonic consumption. The demon emperor grasped the significance of the girl possessing the server's internal key, granting her control over the entire game and its player base. Shocked by the king of hell's deceit in entrusting the key to the girl, they grappled with the implications. Bewildered by this revelation, they hesitated, uncertain of their next move in this unforeseen predicament. One of the king's maids, feeling adrift after the betrayal, pondered their allegiance and the impending alteration of game rules. Viewing the king's maids as threats due to their unwavering loyalty, the demons moved to eliminate them. They sought answers from the maids regarding the whereabouts of the Lord's chief servant and her pilfered possessions. Yet, the maids, steadfast in their loyalty, perished in silence, obedient to their master's directive. Retorting sharply, they rebuffed any notion of cooperation, asserting their steadfast silence. Dismissing any hope of finding Fanning, they deemed the mission impossible, warning against harboring such dreams. Unfazed by their skepticism, he proclaimed that Fanning would eventually seek his mercy, albeit too late. Meanwhile, our protagonist found himself in the underground kingdom, unaware of recent events and the whereabouts of his companions. Contemplating her situation, the Lord's maid grappled with the uncertainty surrounding her soul's fate, potentially vulnerable to the four Ghost Emperor's intentions to close the game. To thwart their plans, the boy must identify the Emperors, rescue the maid, and safeguard the majority of players trapped in this world. However, his immediate priority is to locate his companions and assess their predicament, ensuring they are not in need of assistance. Encountering his girlfriends once more, one cloaked in black, the other in white, they were bewildered by his return and questioned his actions. Unconvinced of his continued online presence, they resolved to escort him directly to His Highness. The fighter noted the trouble these girls seemed to bring him, yet he felt his newfound strength rendering him impervious to their constraints. Evolving into one of the strongest warriors, his energy and prowess surpassed the limitations of mere mortal constraints. Shocked by his formidable strength and energy, the girls struggled to comprehend how a seemingly ordinary player could possess such power. Displaying his might, he warned them against obstructing his path to avoid dire consequences. Recognizing his power as an aspect of His Highness's defensive technique, the underground god, the girls remained perplexed. Their confusion deepened as they pondered how an ordinary individual could wield such extraordinary power and share it with mortal girls. Perplexed by his transformation, their sole inquiry remained: where did he acquire such energy and how? Though still the same boy in essence, his extraordinary strength and willpower confounded the girls, who failed to comprehend the source of his newfound abilities. The fighter divulged the truth about recent events, including the demise of the former lord and the impending peril looming over all. The girls found themselves overwhelmed with sorrow, grieving the loss of someone so dear to them. Despite their anguish, there was no time for lamentation. He implored their assistance to ensure that righteousness prevailed over malevolence, preventing the barbarians from achieving their nefarious goals. Acknowledging the weight of their responsibilities, the girls realized that His Highness couldn't simply relinquish his legacy to an ordinary individual, nor could he depart without passing on his duties. Resolute in their loyalty, they pledged to fulfill any task required of them, committed to serving the Lord until the end, even if it meant following the guise of this individual. Recognizing the need for discretion, Sho suggested they adopt more inconspicuous disguises to avoid drawing attention to themselves. Ready to comply with his every command, the girls assured him that they could fulfill any desire he expressed, turning it into their specialty. Transforming into bracelets that adorned his arm, they remained by his side as before, ready to assist in whatever capacity required. Suddenly, an intense heat emanated from the hellish abyss, causing it to split in half, creating a stark division on the map. As the boys' friends pondered the depths and scraps of the split abyss, they grappled with the challenge of descending safely. Understanding the perilous conditions below, they realized that even if the fairy could fly, she risked desiccation before reaching the depths. Despite the daunting circumstances, the girls remained steadfast, awaiting their loyal friend and fighter's arrival, confident in his ability to devise a plan. Amidst the darkness and absence of dawn, the fighter reunited with his friends, recounting his recent experiences and urging them to hasten in rescuing the trapped players. After tirelessly searching, he finally located his friends and surmised their presence in the vicinity. Perplexed by his sudden departure and prolonged absence, the girls questioned what had transpired and why he had vanished without contacting them, leaving them in the dark. He began to recount a tale of grave import, warning them that what he was about to disclose would be chilling, yet undeniably true, urging them to listen attentively. Though initially bewildered and anxious, they realized the gravity of the situation and understood that only they held the power to intervene and halt the impending crisis. Shocked by the revelations of his harrowing experiences, they grappled with the realization that the game was not mere entertainment, but a perilous journey through real hell. Emphasizing the pivotal role they played in determining the fates of all players on the map, he implored them to summon their confidence, strength, and courage to vanquish the monstrous foes and emerge victorious in this war. Despite his urging for them to depart the game and safeguard themselves, they expressed concern for his well-being, uncertain if he could leave the game unscathed. Yet, he asserted that hell had spared his life for a reason, and he couldn't abandon the crucial task entrusted to him, driven by the hope vested in him. Expressing her reservations about leaving the game, his best friend attributed her unease to a lack of energy reserves and substantial investment in the game, vowing not to stay until the end. However, the girls remained resolute, steadfast in their loyalty to him, acknowledging his sacrifices and resolved to fight alongside him, even if it meant risking their own lives. Undeterred by the allure of the game's increasing intrigue, they affirmed their commitment to their mission, refusing to be swayed by any attempts to deceive them into leaving. One of them pledged unwavering support as his first assistant, vowing to stand by his side through every trial. The strongest and most steadfast among them dismissed the Ghost Emperors as mere remnants of the King of Hell's memories, confident in their team's ability to persevere and emerge triumphant. Grateful for the unwavering loyalty and courage displayed by his entire team, the boy rejoiced that none faltered in the face of adversity, propelling them forward on their perilous journey. Kaya, observing the gathering from the sidelines, felt hesitant about joining what seemed like a gathering of eccentric individuals. Yet, as she realized she was left alone, betrayed by her supposed team, she couldn't help but feel a sense of attachment to them. Despite her reservations, Kaya resolved to stand by her companions till the end, driven by her affection for them and a desire to prevent their untimely demise. Moreover, she couldn't bear the thought of witnessing their deaths after enduring countless trials together in the game. With everyone opting to stay, their morale soared, infusing them with hope and confidence that they could overcome any obstacle. Linking hands, they made a solemn vow to fight to the bitter end, pledging to cover each other's backs should the need arise. However, their newfound resolve was quickly overshadowed by a spine-chilling sound that echoed around them, instilling fear in their hearts. As the girls witnessed something ominous approaching from all directions, they realized the perilous nature of the abyss below, shrouded in mystery and foreboding. Perplexed by the absence of monsters in the abyss and the unsettling sounds emanating from it, they grappled with the uncertainty of the situation. Undeterred by the danger, the Spider Girl bravely ventured into the abyss to investigate, though the intense heat posed a formidable challenge. Despite their concern, the boy remained confident in her abilities, believing that she would succeed and fulfill her mission without harm befalling her. Loyal to her master, the spider girl was determined to assist him, motivated by his care and concern for her well-being. Assuring the girls that everything was under control, she dispelled their worries, reaffirming her belief that their plans would proceed smoothly. Descending deeper into the abyss, she encountered a surge of scorching lava, indicating the treacherous nature of the path ahead. Among the stones, she noticed glistening pearls, their allure irresistible. Driven by curiosity, she couldn't resist plucking one and tasting its essence, hoping to experience either intense heat or exquisite flavor. Announcing her intention to collect the pearls, she lamented the emptiness of many, doubting her ability to find the required 30. Perplexed by the presence of the pearls and the possibility of someone else's involvement, the team speculated on their significance, pondering whether any had been lost to the lava. The spider, having scoured the area, asserted that the pearls couldn't have fallen into the lava, urging a swift return to avoid potential peril. As the boy began to assist her, a misstep nearly sent her tumbling into the fiery depths. Hastening to her aid, the team rallied to pull her to safety as the lava threatened to engulf her. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, they tightened their grip on the rope, knowing her life hung in the balance. With her safety paramount, they spared no effort in rescuing her, recognizing her invaluable contribution to the team. Despite their success in saving her, their relief was short-lived as a massive lava dragon suddenly emerged, instilling fear in all who beheld it. Bewildered by the dragon's presence, the boy questioned its appearance in the hellish river, suspecting interference with the game's settings. Assessing the formidable creature's threat, he realized the danger it posed to his companions, its sheer size and power making them easy prey. Undeterred by the looming threat, his loyal assistant clutched the pearls tightly, refusing to let go even in the face of danger. Determined to protect his team, the boy summoned his bracelets, channeling his incredible energy and strength to confront the monstrous dragon. With a display of formidable power, he engaged the beast in battle, demonstrating that he would tolerate no threats to his team, wielding his newfound strength to overcome the formidable adversary. He ought not to engage in such actions. The group recognized the formidable nature of the creature, necessitating a water-based weapon to quench its power. The dragon expended increasing amounts of energy, paralleling the combined growth rate of all the individuals present. Possessing an indomitable will and a remarkable tolerance for high temperatures, it displayed immense strength. Nevertheless, our protagonist harbored no fear towards the dragon and stood ready to defend his team to the last. His respect for each member fueled his determination to go to any lengths for their sake. Emitting fiery flames from its maw, the dragon ravaged everything in its path, denying peace and safety to any living being. Uncertain of their resilience to fire, each team member faced the perilous consequences of the dragon's infernal breath. Fortunately, the mage among them erected a protective dome, shielding the entire group from harm. Despite the odds, our valiant fighter ascended into the sky, poised to deliver a decisive blow to the dragon, refusing to tolerate its mockery of him and his comrades. With a resounding strike intended to incapacitate the dragon and inflict maximal damage, our hero pressed on undeterred. Each girl found solace in their association with him, recognizing his unwavering courage, valor, strength, and resilience. They understood his commitment to fighting relentlessly and never conceding defeat. Kaya was unaware that attribute-less weapons could prove effective. He effortlessly vanquished the dragon without exerting much effort, defying the expectations of many adversaries who deemed it impossible, believing he would perish in the battle. The girls puzzled over how the dragon became entangled in the situation, speculating that it might have attacked them due to their association with his stolen pearls. Xiao discerned the trap set by the antagonist and realized the insignificance of the pearls, recognizing that they had been duped. Frustrated by the antagonist's deception and the wasted time, Xiao was determined to confront him and make it clear that such actions would not go unpunished. Perplexed, Potato Head questioned why the game couldn't be shut down, knowing it led to the King of Hell's seal. He grew anxious, demanding answers from his subjects about the ongoing situation, eager to ensnare unsuspecting players unable to log off. Despite sending them into peril, Potato Head learned the adventurers had defeated the dragon unscathed, prompting their imminent arrival to confront him about his callous actions. Overwhelmed with fear, he couldn't fathom how they escaped the perilous gorge, an area notorious for claiming the lives of all previous teams. Time slipped away, and the team, exhausted from their journey, followed their fearless leader, determined to overcome any obstacle. Their path was now swarmed with ghosts and mobs, a stark contrast to their earlier travels, hinting at interference from unseen hands. The commander, known for his valor, led the team undeterred, willing to sacrifice for their safety. Observing the increasing threats, one of the team members realized their journey was being manipulated, obstacles deliberately placed to impede their progress. The ghosts, controlled by external forces, aimed to halt their advance, revealing a calculated attempt to hinder their mission. Time became their enemy as they grappled with adversaries, unaware that every delay diminished their chance of success and the opportunity to find the elusive maid. The maid, trapped in a labyrinth, struggled with exhaustion, her energy dwindling as she fought to hold on. Acknowledging her limitations, she paused to rest, knowing she lacked the strength to continue without respite. Uncertain of the looming threats, she braced herself against fatigue, hoping for a reprieve as her strength waned. Passing adventurers whispered of a formidable beast, the Scissors Prison, lurking nearby. They hoped to capture it for weapon enhancement. Alert to their intentions, the maid remained silent, wary of seeking their aid. Aware of her vulnerability, she knew confronting them would attract the attention of powerful adversaries. Surrounded by players, she had no refuge or ally to turn to in her solitude. A tempting bounty appeared, offering riches for capturing the elusive player, sparking a frenzy among seekers. Her friend Hao became a target, his defeat promising equal rewards to ambitious players. Eager discussions ensued among players, enticed by the prospect of leveling up with the substantial rewards. Recognizing the ease of this quest compared to others, players eagerly pursued the prize. The team's notoriety escalated as their pursuers vied for supremacy on the server. A fervent search commenced, driven by the promise of rewards and recognition. Amidst the chaos, the maid found solace in the diversion of the player hunt, relieved as the crowd dispersed, leaving her unnoticed. The gathering point bustled with confusion as players puzzled over their objectives. Unbeknownst to them, Potato Head mocked the players from his throne, unaware of potential challengers. His loyal followers encircled the throne, ready to defend their king against any who dared challenge him for profit. Resting assured, the king remained oblivious to any threats, confident in his ability to detect trouble. His contentment grew, relieved that no one sought to claim the offered bounty of gold and crystals. Suddenly, 5 stars gleamed above his head, heralding the arrival of vengeful adversaries. The Shadow Team, appearing unexpectedly, posed a formidable challenge, leaving destruction in their wake. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the king abandoned any notion of jest or deception. Faced with imminent danger, he pondered his next move. Unperturbed, the adversaries assured him of his inability to evade their pursuit. Racing through secret passages, the king sought refuge, knowing his head was a prime target. Despite his efforts, escape seemed futile, as the adversaries remained steadfast in their pursuit. Meanwhile, his girlfriend descended to intercept him, determined to understand his intentions. Discovering his hiding place, they resolved to confront him head-on. To their surprise, they stumbled upon his control room, revealing his omnipotence within the fortress. Defiant, the king warned of their impending demise, boasting of his fortress's impenetrability. Despite concerns, the team remained resolute, trusting in their leader's ability to navigate the perilous situation. The king's proclamation regarding the emperor and demons spurred determination within the team, recognizing the potential strategic advantage in overcoming him. Despite the egg's malevolent grin, a sense lingered that he harbored a cunning scheme if the intruders breached his fortress. The team treaded cautiously as axes whirled through the air, poised to cleave them in two, heightening their vigilance against imminent danger. Without hesitation, our valiant fighter leaped into action, determined to safeguard his comrades from peril, drawing on his seasoned warrior instincts. Trapped within the confines of the tunnel, escape seemed impossible as they found themselves hemmed in by the relentless assault, with only the bald king holding the key to freedom. Assurance came from Shou, who confidently asserted his ability to navigate the perilous situation, urging his comrades not to intervene as he formulated a plan. Each onslaught intensified the team's apprehension, revealing the formidable power wielded within the kingdom's walls. The maze shifted, separating the players, thwarting their attempts to regroup and strategize. Panic set in as the labyrinth transformed before their eyes, leaving them bewildered and uncertain of how to halt the shifting terrain. Shocked by the unforeseen turn of events, even the most prepared among them found themselves at a loss, their unity crumbling under the weight of uncertainty. The king's mockery echoed as the balance of power shifted, reminding the intruders that they now played by his rules. Chao's team became the primary target for the king's aggression, singled out for swift destruction. Deadly traps emerged from the labyrinth's walls, threatening the players' very lives, forcing them to evade with every ounce of agility. Recognizing the threat posed by their skilled adversary, the king knew time was running short as he orchestrated their demise with ruthless efficiency. Determined not to yield, our fighter pressed forward despite the mounting obstacles, knowing surrender was no longer an option. The walls closed in, threatening to crush them, leaving only moments before they were squeezed together. Shou urged his companions to remain calm, emphasizing the importance of maintaining composure amidst the chaos. As the walls constricted, they drew closer together, the pressure mounting until they felt as though they might be flattened into a mere pastry. Amidst the chaos, Mine found herself bound, gasping for air, lamenting the end of their chances. Despair gripped them all, draining their resolve as they faced what seemed like an inevitable defeat. Kaya, however, refused to relinquish hope, rallying against the odds, determined to aid her companions despite the adversity. The egg sneered, but his arrogance faltered as an unexpected figure emerged behind him. To his astonishment, the boy he had scorned moments ago now stood before him, a wry smile playing on his lips. Shocked and humbled, the king realized he had underestimated the legendary warriors, kneeling and begging for mercy, though it was too late. Anger flared within the group as the once confident king pleaded for forgiveness, shifting blame to his orders. Puzzled, they questioned how the boy had uncovered the king's secret surveillance. Chao revealed the truth. The labyrinth was a replica crafted by the boy, revealing the depth of his knowledge and cunning. Impressed by his strategic prowess and gaming skills, Kaya marveled at his careful consideration of the enemy's tactics. Begging for clemency, he offered the phoenix cloak as a bargaining chip, pleading for his life to be spared. He asserted ownership of the cloak but insisted they assist him in locating a girl, implying her survival depended on it. Promising to consider sparing him only after he disclosed the girl's whereabouts, he left them questioning his motives and connection to the mysterious girl. Bewildered, they pondered his knowledge of the girl and his sudden interest in their aid, questioning his past actions that warranted such a request. The Emperor's enforcers arrived, intent on confronting the intruders and inflicting harm upon them. Realizing the enforcers' purpose, the group understood the urgency of finding the maid before their adversaries did. Urged by the king, they concealed themselves to evade the enforcers, recognizing the danger they posed. The ghostly generals, emissaries of the emperor, sought information on the maid's whereabouts, motivated by their need for what she possessed. The egghead attempted to deflect suspicion, feigning ignorance and questioning the enforcers' intentions. Eavesdropping from their hiding place, the group listened intently, hoping to glean any information that could aid their cause. Uncertain of the king's allegiance, they grappled with the possibility of betrayal, unsure if his directive to hide was genuine. Amidst the turmoil, Kaya sensed a looming threat, overshadowing the current peril they faced. Former teammates of Kaya closed in on them, seeking revenge for her departure to another team. Their resentment stemmed from Kaya's departure, as she had defied their expectations by joining another team, prompting their desire for retribution. With their enemies closing in, Kaya urged the group to hide, recognizing the imminent danger. Myung Moon advised disregarding their pursuers and focusing on the guidance of the omniscient, emphasizing the need for strategic action. The king suggested redirecting the general's attention to other players on different floors, highlighting their unique qualities. The group marveled as the omniscient intervened on their behalf, prompting questions about his allegiance and motives. It emerged that the emperors had their own agenda within the scissor prison. The emperors inquired about Xiao's whereabouts, sparking anticipation among the group. Xiao acknowledged knowing the individual in question but questioned the emperor's relentless pursuit and the reason behind it. It transpired that Xiao had slain the ghost general's brother in the prison of the Torn Tongue, leading to his resurrection as someone of rebirth. Xiao's past victory over the ruler's guise now bore consequences, as he faced accountability for his actions. The repercussions of past battles caught up with Xiao in the present, demanding his accountability. Amidst their conversation, the emperors detected mysterious whispers, signaling their realization that they were not alone in their surroundings. Above them, the group of eavesdroppers remained concealed, having overheard the conversation all along, much to the surprise and fury of the emperors. The emperors, realizing they had been overheard, grappled with the sudden turn of events and the potential for imminent conflict. Breaking through the roof, one of the demon emperors sought to investigate the source of the sounds and confirm whether they were under threat. However, the sorceress intervened, casting a spell to cloak the group within a dome, rendering them invisible to the emperor's scrutiny. Assured that there was no imminent threat, the emperor departed, content that the sounds were merely incidental. Urged by the omniscient, the group hastened their departure, aiming to intercept Yao's team at the Hyena Abyss. Perplexed by Xiao's prowess in defeating the Prison of Languages Ford, the emperors resolved to capture him and extract answers. The king bid them farewell, aware of the potential consequences if their mission proved fruitless. As they departed, one emperor cautioned of dire repercussions if their journey proved futile, underscoring the gravity of their mission. The omniscient grappled with the uncertainty of his fate, unsure of how to secure his survival. Xiao and his team expressed gratitude towards the omniscient, questioning his loyalty to the emperors and his decision not to betray them. The omniscient revealed his grand plans for the scissor prison, aiming to involve the Eastern Ghost Emperors in a significant endeavor. Unconcerned with Xiao's past actions, the omniscient offered to lead them to the maid, promising to guide them to the third floor and freedom from the scissor prison. Unconcerned about Xiao's methods in dispatching the general and demons, the omniscient disregarded his relationship with the King of Hell. He vowed to guide Xiao to the maid, enabling their escape to the third floor and freedom from the scissor prison. With a handshake, they sealed their pact. Opting for the safer route, they made their way towards the back exit, minimizing the risk of encountering enemies. Their objective was to rescue the maid swiftly before the generals realized they had been misled, all while evading the teams ranked 6th to 10th. Exiting through the back door, they embarked on their mission to locate and rescue the maid, eager to ascertain their next steps towards escape. Ambushers lay in wait among the bushes, reporting back to their master that the group had fallen for the trap and veered off course. The omniscient speculated on the maid's whereabouts, acknowledging the challenge of locating her in such terrain. Each member of the group felt a strong bond with the boy, viewing him as a protective figure amidst their trials and battles. Cautioning against startling the maid, they resolved to inform the boy if they discovered her hiding place. United in their mission, the girls split up to search for their friend and other players, determined to effect her rescue. Despite their shared goal, lingering doubts and past betrayals made some wary of placing full trust in the omniscient. Memories of a past betrayal during a battle with the first floor boss lingered, casting a shadow of doubt over the omniscient's reliability. Assuring her newfound allegiance, the omniscient vowed to guide them to the game's conclusion, armed with a newfound understanding of its intricacies. Meanwhile, the maid sought solace within the labyrinth, restoring her health and finding peace amidst the chaos. Upon hearing of the search party, the The maid's tranquility was disrupted by fears of encountering malicious opportunists among the searchers. Fearing that the search party sent by the Eastern emperors aimed to harm her, the maid sought refuge, unaware of their benign intentions. Her worst fears materialized when one of the emperor's envoys discovered her hiding place, eliciting a moment of paralyzing fear. The assailant moved to strike her down in a single swift motion, intent on resolving the situation decisively. Desperate for aid, she let out a piercing scream, hoping someone would come to her rescue, her vulnerability magnified by her lack of arms and dwindling strength. In a moment of peril, the boy shielded her, as he had done countless times before, protecting her from harm and providing support to his companions. She felt a wave of relief and gratitude, reminiscent of the times when Xiao had come to her aid, standing up for her when she needed it most. Observing the boy's courageous stance, she felt a sense of reassurance, grateful that he had arrived in time to avert disaster. Despite her protector's intervention, the barbarian persisted in his attack, launching a fiercer assault. Swiftly, the boy urged his friend to take cover, deftly evading the assailant's blow to safeguard both their lives. Displaying astonishing strength, he cleaved the earth, creating a chasm that sent their adversaries tumbling into the abyss, incapacitating their foes. Ensuring her safety, he propelled her to a secure distance, prioritizing her well-being over his own. Grateful for his swift action, she leaned on her friend for support, relieved to have escaped the immediate threat unscathed. Reassured by her protector's words, she learned of their true intentions, realizing they had come to aid her, not harm her. Undeterred, 3 more assailants descended upon them, determined to eliminate any chance of her survival. They found themselves paralyzed as the impending threat loomed closer, rendered incapable of action by their shock. In the customary fashion of dire moments, she intervened, backing them up with her formidable bazooka from the sidelines. Their trusted comrade, who had repeatedly shielded them with her honed combat prowess, refused to stand idly by. Hastily, she moved to protect the girls. With remarkable strength and valor, she repelled the barbaric assailants, ensuring the girls' safety and preventing any harm from befalling the maid. However, they were suddenly assailed by one of the Emperor's chief demons dispatched to annihilate her. She was hurled a considerable distance by its massive fist. His blow generated a tremendous shockwave, clearing everything in its path. Nearly unconscious, she lay prone as the demon prepared to deliver a fatal blow. Exhausted to her limits, her strength not yet fully recovered, she struggled to function normally despite attempts to restore her health. In a moment of utmost bravery, Kaya rescued her, spiriting her away to a secure location atop the mountain, shielding her from further harm. The boy recognized her timely intervention, acknowledging that she had saved the day and thwarted the malevolent forces from disrupting their noble intentions. She proposed detaining their adversaries alongside their allies, urging him to flee with her swiftly for their plan to succeed. Yet, before them stood her former comrades, determined to stand united against what they perceived as her betrayal and potential divulgence of their secrets. The girl stood bewildered, uncertain of her next move, with seemingly no alternative direction to turn. Matters worsened as tensions escalated, casting a shadow of despair over their predicament. An old friend greeted her, inquiring if she had enjoyed her time with the new group and extending an invitation to rejoin their ranks. However, she responded that the situation surpassed mere personal conflicts, emphasizing that exacerbating tensions would only worsen matters at hand. Faced with a formidable multitude, she brought the maid along to provide cover and aid the group in completing their mission. What ensued was a deeply personal confrontation. Her former allies declared themselves no longer comrades but enemies. Their IDs were confirmed, indicating they had caught up with them, a revelation implying they had eliminated other players to reach this point. Throughout, they endured ridicule and disbelief from others, retaliating mercilessly against those who mocked or doubted them. Despite being ridiculed for failing to secure first place, their resolve hardened, vowing to eliminate anyone obstructing their path, friend or foe. Impatient with the status quo, they resolved to eradicate all obstacles to their dominance, driven solely by the pursuit of glory. A demon's assistant approached them with an intriguing proposition. The offer extended to them was the chance to ascend to greatness within the game, with the demon's assistant pledging assistance in achieving this pinnacle of success. Should they agree, the assistant vowed to ensure they faced no further mockery and attained unrivaled status. The only condition was surrendering the defenseless girl lying on the ground to the demon's assistant, in exchange for guaranteed perfection within the game and unending prosperity. The gravity of the situation was underscored as the boy cautioned against foolish actions, emphasizing the girl's pivotal role in the game's life-or-death scenario. Yet, consumed by visions of grandeur, they remained undeterred, convinced that attaining greatness justified any means necessary, dismissing all warnings. Meanwhile, the maid, overhearing the exchange, resigned herself to an uncertain fate, realizing her destiny lay beyond her control. Enthralled by the prospect of newfound strength and supremacy, the allure of power clouded their judgment, rendering rational thought futile. Kaya endeavored to persuade him, presenting arguments that this game was inferior to real life and warned of impending suffering. She urged him not to agree to it. However, he simply retorted that while he might be the strongest within this realm, he remained the sovereign in reality, as he could no longer distinguish between the two. A barbarian seized her. She struggled fervently to break free, expressing her discomfort and pleading for release. Yet the sorceress persisted in her resistance, asserting that sacrificing one's last shred of dignity for the sake of so-called strength was reprehensible, and she voiced her disdain for his actions. Unmoved, the archer aimed arrows in her direction, disregarding any semblance of friendship, consumed solely by a thirst for accolades. Likewise, a magical girl devised a spell to halt her, misconstruing their intentions and failing to grasp the true nature of the game. She challenged them, questioning their belief that they could rival someone of her strength. Suddenly, a crimson wave enveloped her, transforming her into a new persona. She emerged as a maid, evading the grasp of the barbarians and thwarting their advances. The boy holding her was astonished by her prowess, unprepared for such resistance. Enthralled by power, the boy's mind fixated solely on ratings and potential gains, rendering him unable to relinquish his hold. Sensing his fixation, she cautioned against sudden movements that could harm not only himself but also those around him, advising humility in his interactions. She struck him with a headbutt to the face. Another minion of the Emperor ambushed him from behind, but his acute sensitivity alerted him to the danger, prompting him to take heed. Drawing his sword in the nick of time, he swiftly reacted to the sound behind him with remarkable speed. As the clash ensued, it appeared he would overpower his opponent, striking with force that seemed capable of toppling the adversary. With a masterful stroke of his sword, he delivered a formidable counterattack, a move that had saved him numerous times in past battles and aided in defeating formidable foes. The onlookers, particularly the girls, puzzled over his presence among ordinary players, given his exceptional strength, skills, and valor. Suddenly, something seized the maid, whisking her away from the group, leaving everyone bewildered as to its origin and how to address the situation. It was the leader of the Emperor's minions behind this, orchestrating the abduction to swiftly claim her as their own. However, he hesitated, wanting to showcase that his team was far from ordinary and possessed extraordinary capabilities. In a sudden outburst, our protagonist seemed to be consumed by an intense anger, warning the assailants to release her or face dire consequences. The demons exchanged confused glances, baffled by the sudden surge of energy emanating from him. The first Phantom General boasted 9,000 health, 1,003 attack power, 800 armor, and 600 magic resistance. Meanwhile, the second Phantom General stood at 3/4 level, with 9,600 health, 1,400 attack power, 900 armor, and 600 magic resistance. It was revealed to be the Demon King's skill. When overwhelmed with emotion, he could discern the attributes of other players. Advising them against further confrontation, he leaped away, brandishing his massive sword, proclaiming these as his final words. Grateful for the unexpected challenge, the boy revealed he too had a trump card up his sleeve. With a mighty blow, he cleaved the demon in half effortlessly, displaying his strength without breaking a sweat. The second general struggled to comprehend how this was possible, finally acknowledging the unusual nature of this individual and sensing an underlying power within him. Initially dismissing him as a mere novice, the general was taken aback as the tables turned, wondering if this person was truly foolish or cunning. Despite outward appearances, this individual possessed extraordinary power, effortlessly vanquishing monster after monster and boss after boss without faltering. Yet, unknown to him, they harbored a secret they had kept hidden from him until now. One of them seemed to have tapped into a new, mysterious source of energy, replenishing their reserves. Drawing energy from their adversaries, they channeled it into themselves, granting them unprecedented strength. Even our protagonist fell victim to this energy drain, losing a portion of the power accumulated over time. Transformed into a robotic-like being, their appearance no longer resembled that of a human, adorned with new attire and powered by a different source. Towering over their opponent, they prepared to engage in battle with renewed determination, unfazed by the prospect of facing our protagonist. Despite their skill, our protagonist struggled to discern any weaknesses in this seemingly invulnerable creature. The monster unleashed devastating blows, each strike sapping more energy from our protagonist. Armed with a formidable weapon, they inflicted immense damage with each strike. The ground trembled as they wielded their weapon, causing massive earthquakes that rent the earth asunder. With each strike, their power reached an unparalleled level, rendering any defense futile against such absolute force. Unyielding, our protagonist pressed on, knowing that victory would eventually be theirs. Despite occasional misses, every strike was aimed at the enemy who had spoken so arrogantly of them, determined to prove their worth. Realizing the creature had no discernible weak points, the boy resolved to confront it seriously, devising a plan to absorb its energy with the assistance of the girls accompanying him. Unveiling the artifact in the form of 2 bracelets, the boy puzzled over their extraordinary power, a force the demon had never encountered before. The first girl emerged from one of the bracelets, channeling her powers to inflict damage upon the monster. Similarly, the second bracelet released a charming girl, joining the fray against the creature. Together, they relentlessly attacked the monster, recognizing its inferiority compared to their combined strength. Coordinating their strikes from both sides, they delivered powerful blows, overwhelming the monster. The monster found itself unable to retaliate, being struck from all directions and unable to evade the onslaught. Meanwhile, the boy's strikes, augmented by the glow of his bracelet, further intensified the assault, rendering the monster helpless. Faced with dwindling energy reserves from the players, the monster resorted to draining energy from everyone, including Zhao's friends. The girls, feeling their energy wane, struggled to resist as their health gradually diminished. Enveloping everyone in a red aura, the monster prevented them from replenishing their health, tightening its grip on the battle. Uncertain of how to proceed in this unprecedented situation, the boy resolved to employ a deadly technique to isolate the monster from his friends. Employing this tactic for the first time, the boy succeeded in creating a dome-like barrier, enclosing himself and the monster, sparing others from harm. Surprised by the effectiveness of this strategy, the boy marveled at its success, a new experience for him. Within the confines of the dome, the boy and the monster engaged in a fierce battle, shielding others from the danger that raged within. The boy, risking everything, utilized the power of the bracelets to save everyone. However, the monster, now threatened by its impending demise, vowed not to spare him. Undeterred, our fighter refused to surrender, asserting that the current outcome was not the final result of their battle, and he was determined to put an end to the monster's reign. Despite the vast difference in levels, rendering all other artifacts ineffective against the monster, the boy resolved to fight on, knowing he would have to persevere and even face death to inherit the God of the Underworld title from the King of Hell. The monster sought to test the boy's resolve, subjecting him to torture. Defiant, the boy chose to take a risk, opting to employ a tactic that would expose him, despite the consequences. Summoning forth a massive demon, the boy unleashed a formidable opponent upon the monster, undeterred by the potential consequences. The demon's energy radiated with such intensity that it manifested as blue lights, granting it additional power. Recognizing the true identity of the demon as the god of the underworld, the monster realized the battle would be far from easy. Pouring all its energy and power into the fight, the monster sought to inflict devastating damage and eradicate its adversary. Assisted by his girlfriend, who had been wearing a bracelet all along, the boy erected a dome to contain the energy, preventing it from spreading beyond their battleground. Realizing that the king of hell had not perished but instead transferred his energy to inhabit the sky, the boy understood the necessity of finishing what he had started and confronting the monster without hesitation. In this game, there was no room for mercy. The boy was determined to exact justice for his comrades. Without a shred of remorse, he relentlessly dismantled the monster, knowing it was a vile creature deserving of no sympathy. Piece by piece, the monster was consumed, no longer the formidable adversary that once drained the energy of others. In the meantime, the maid wrestled with vivid nightmares, and Kaya remained constantly by her side, offering support and comfort. She appeared visibly fatigued and unwell, yet no one knew quite how to alleviate her suffering. His Majesty underwent a profound transformation, positioning himself at the center, absorbing an increasing amount of energy. Consequently, the boy shed his disguise, revealing his true identity to all. Despite the boy's efforts to reclaim him, all endeavors proved futile, and the past remained irretrievable. However, he successfully vanquished the monstrous threat. The maid came to the realization that His Highness had entrusted everything to this boy, recognizing that he had been safeguarding and caring for her all along. Furthermore, the two girls grasped that fulfilling His Highness's desires and aiding Shou in foiling the schemes of the spectral emperors was their destiny. As the inheritor of the king's underworld deity status, Shou found himself unexpectedly endowed with the ability to consume the souls of his adversaries. His mastery over the memories of the underworld must evolve, as currently, he can only harness a fraction of his potential. Rushing to the boy, the maid inquired if he bore the likeness of His Majesty, having noticed striking similarities. He explained that while he inherited the king's memories and talents, he was not His Majesty, preferring to be addressed as Shou. Despite this, she couldn't help but feel a sense of affinity towards him, recognizing in him the same extraordinary abilities that were unique to one person. She sensed an uncanny resemblance between him and His Highness, particularly in their smiles. Inquiring about her well-being and offering assistance, he was met with a tremulous assurance that she was managing. Handing him the key she had safeguarded, she explained that she had kept it for this precise moment. Having held onto it all this time, she now relinquished it to him with a sense of peace, acknowledging his deserving nature. "What's on your mind right now?" she inquired, curious about his thoughts. He simply dismissed it as nothing, but secretly he admired how his two bracelets seamlessly melded together, resembling the elegance of twin girls. Recognizing her inability to navigate in her current form, he suggested she adopt a guise as a player. She commenced a complete transformation of her physique. Each alteration not a subtraction but an addition, enhancing her appearance with each garment. Doubting her appearance, she sought reassurance if she appeared inconspicuous and if she could accompany him in this guise. Yet, they attracted even more attention than before, towering over the other girls on the team. It was time to ascend to the third level of hell, and just as they nearly forgot, their assistant arrived. Discussion ensued. Their assistant had botched the scissor prison, urging them to swiftly navigate through this level. First, they must vanquish the desert wolves, then traverse the snowy mountain, and finally enter the misty canyon. This only exacerbated his frustration as he failed to comprehend the necessity of such complexities. Proposing a shortcut, he elucidated that although typically one encounters numerous obstacles to reach the labyrinth canyon, beyond it lies the 9 heavenly hanging river, offering a direct path to the misty canyon. However, the 9 heavenly hanging river, perched over 10,000 meters atop the mountain with sheer, smooth rocks, posed a formidable challenge. How could they possibly reach it? Perplexed, they sat down to contemplate their predicament, aware that time was slipping away. Despite his reluctance to involve her, it seemed this was their sole recourse, worth attempting nonetheless. Though he viewed her as a formidable adversary, he resolved to seek her assistance. She presented a formidable challenge, yet amidst the turmoil, she exuded a captivating allure. The boy relinquished his omniscient demeanor, instead indicating the path they should follow, prompting the group to relocate accordingly. Arriving at the desolate locale, uncertainty loomed among the group, questioning the significance of their search in such an empty expanse. One of the girls gazed into the depths of the ocean, astonished by the sight that greeted her. A spectacle unlike any she had ever witnessed. Real mermaids, the stuff of legends, met her eyes, challenging her disbelief in their existence within the confines of the game. The mermaids regarded her and the arriving players with keen interest, unaccustomed to receiving guests. She shared her encounter with the mermaids with the group, shaken by the unexpected revelation. The boy recognized that they had reached their destination, finally arriving at the place they had sought all along. Asserting his identity, he requested an audience with the Holy Virgin of the Nine Heavens hanging river. His friends stood in awe, witnessing his audacious and determined demeanor. The mermaids swiftly constructed a path, allowing the boy to proceed towards his audience. Expressing gratitude to his sisters for paving the way and welcoming new guests, he embarked on the journey, embraced warmly by the mermaids. Despite their allure, the mermaids greeted him with affection and hospitality, eager for his company. Though each mermaid possessed unique beauty and charm, none captivated his interest. Each mermaid boasted her own distinct and captivating features, rendering them alluring in their own right. Though enticing, the boy remained focused on his mission, navigating through the enchanting yet distracting presence of the mermaids. Suddenly, one of the girls felt a strong impulse to put the new equipment she had received in battle to the test. Each of them possessed its own unique charm, intriguingly captivating the boy's attention toward each of them. However, something went awry, seemingly originating from the fifth point. A sizable blaze erupted, piercing through the water. His rear end suffered severe burns, emitting fiery rings that looked rather impressive. This seemed promising. So, did she try out her new equipment? Kaya hoisted them all into the air and calmly transported them to the designated location where the road awaited them. Yet, one of them stumbled due to excessive caution, resulting in a minor slip. The boy urged the lead mermaid to cease playing hide and seek and join them for a chat. She simply remarked that she hadn't encountered such a handsome and youthful man in quite some time. Sincerely delighted by his visit, she extended her hospitality towards him. In terms of size, she dwarfed the boy several times over, but this didn't seem to faze him. He expressed his desire for her assistance in traversing the canyon, sparking her interest. She had one small favor to ask, a request she could only entrust to a man. To fulfill it, he needed to accompany her and assist her in a secluded location. The girls on the sidelines were taken aback by the prospect of such a deep dive, but the boy readily agreed without hesitation. She took his hand and descended to the depths with him. The girls on shore were stunned. She assured them that she would safely return him, unharmed. He lacked direction, but buoyed by the boy's fearlessness and his own lack of apprehension, he readily acquiesced, oblivious to any potential repercussions. Nevertheless, he cautioned her to brace herself for potential outcomes, his vigilant nature prompting him to always have a contingency plan in mind. She extended an invitation for him to explore her chambers, offering a glimpse into her lifestyle and leisure activities, an unprecedented gesture since no one else had ventured there besides him. It bestowed upon him a notable honor, being formally invited in such a manner for the first time. The ambience of her chambers was inviting, adorned with themes of love and hues of pink and purple. She requested his assessment of the bed's comfort by lying down in her room. Expressing her difficulty in sleeping due to loneliness, the mermaid hinted at her need for companionship throughout the long night. He assured her of his willingness to assist her in any way he could, should she require it. Unaware of any ulterior motives, she relaxed, simply seeking respite after a taxing day. However, she meticulously prepared for his visit, mindful of the room's long solitude, and he was among the first to be welcomed. Asserting her authority, she proclaimed her dominion over her territory and its rules. Throughout, she ensnared him with her allure, harboring intentions beyond mere enjoyment. Upon realizing her motives were purely self-serving, he was gripped by fear. Yet, he found himself powerless, confined to her domain and subject to her whims. She began extracting his energy with her needles, intent on draining him of his spiritual essence. Her primary objective was to absorb as much spiritual energy from him as possible. Paralyzed, he could only await his fate, unable to resist or escape. She taunted him, deriding his perceived weakness and questioning how he had even managed to engage with her. Her expression twisted with a premonition of impending trouble. Providentially, the protective spirit that always watched over the boy intervened, confronting the mermaid with its formidable presence, overwhelming her with its immense scale. While the mermaid remained oblivious, the boy meticulously plotted his next move. Fearful of her impending demise, she began to plead for forgiveness. Unmoved by her pleas, the boy held the power to alter her destiny with a mere gesture, displaying no mercy towards her. As she realized the extent of his strength, she knelt before him, begging for clemency, but her repentance came too late. Despite her deceit, the boy, in a magnanimous gesture, demanded only that she honor their agreement, choosing to extend mercy to the mermaid. The boy's strength surpassed that of the combined might of the 9 heavenly rivers, a force he effortlessly absorbed, leaving the mermaids in tears at his unwavering resolve. He declared his decision, asserting his dominance, a proclamation that reverberated throughout the realm. Guided by the spirit's assistance, the boy harnessed the power of the waters to his advantage, ensuring his victory. Meanwhile, on land, bystanders awaited the outcome, pondering whether the boy would emerge triumphant or be ensnared in the watery depths forever. The reverberations from beneath the surface puzzled observers, signaling a significant event unfolding, yet shrouded in mystery. With a decisive move, the boy seized control, subduing the mermaid and asserting his authority over the realm, prompting all inhabitants to bow before him. Leading his team, the boy embarked on an expedition to explore the region, aware of the significant mission that lay ahead. They mounted the massive mermaid and pressed forward, knowing that there was still much ground to cover and that they needed to halt the chaos. Traveling for an extended period, each member of the team found a secure position on the mermaid, clinging tightly as they continued their journey. Despite the challenges, the mermaid navigated through the tumultuous waves of the labyrinthine storm with remarkable speed, propelled by her colossal size. Many struggled to maintain their grip as the Rusalka surged forward, some even being swept away by the force of the waves. Gradually, they approached their destination, the unfolding events aligning with their objectives. However, the mermaid's strength began to wane, casting doubt on their ability to reach their goal. Despite her pleas, their determination remained steadfast. Exhausted, the mermaid succumbed to fatigue, causing all the riders to dismount. Anticipating this turn of events, the resourceful fighter had secured each member of the team with sturdy chains, ensuring they wouldn't be lost. They clung together, bracing against the powerful waves, united in their effort to persevere. The boy anchored himself atop a mountain, providing a lifeline for his companions to ascend, even without the mermaid's assistance. Their admiration for his ingenuity was palpable as they ascended to the summit, resolute in their mission. The boy earned the affection of his comrades for his cleverness and bravery, receiving heartfelt embraces from those who had worried for him during their underwater ordeal. Despite their triumph, they showed mercy to their adversaries, capturing them instead of exacting further punishment. The team paused to recover from the ordeal of being submerged, allowing their lungs to expel the water that had filled them. Sensing a sudden shift, the boy detected a peculiar scent, signaling a potential ambush. In an instant, the mermaid reverted to her human form, shrinking in size from her previous colossal stature. With each transformation, she diminished further until she was no larger than a keychain, easily held in one's hand. Though taken aback by the unexpected turn of events, the boy chose to focus on more pressing matters, recognizing the need to remain undistracted. Rumors spread of the disappearance of the emperor's generals, prompting plans to seal the prison and dispatch a team to investigate. Despite considering seeking guidance from the boy on finding the boss, she realized she possessed all the necessary knowledge and refrained from seeking his assistance. The revelation shocked the team, realizing they had unwittingly triggered an intervention only achievable by the Phantom Emperor, beyond the awareness of the Omniscient One. Aware that their inability to locate the boss would inevitably lead to his pursuit, the boy remained vigilant. Meanwhile, the team wandered through the maze for 3 days, unable to find an exit, unsure if it was a glitch or deliberate design. Suddenly, they caught sight of the boss from afar, stunned by the rare opportunity to witness his presence. Taking action, the team used a loudspeaker to goad and insult the boss, provoking him to confront them swiftly. Spectators were astonished by the audacity of the boy's insults, reflecting his unwavering self-assurance. Despite his girlfriend's doubts, the boy remained confident that their provocation would indeed provoke the boss's ire, ensuring his appearance. A deafening explosion resonated from the ground as the boss emerged from his domain, drawn by the perceived threat against him. The boss appeared, a terrifying and headless figure, far beyond the players' wildest imaginations, a formidable opponent they had never fathomed encountering. Unfazed, the boy embraced the challenge, recognizing that this was only the beginning of his journey, determined to see it through to the end. Immersed in their virtual worlds, gamers worldwide could scarcely conceive that their dreams would materialize so effortlessly, bridging the gap between virtual and reality. The convergence of real and virtual realms was becoming increasingly seamless, fueled by the power of thought to manifest desires into tangible existence. It all commenced with a mysterious helmet, a gateway to an inverted virtual game devoid of traditional controls, easily accessible to anyone who sought it through a simple online request.